the 624-3684 crazy number texts the Abdul Robinson number, says you, and then has the location file.
That's correct.
All right. And then below that, the next one, the Abdul Robinson number is texting back to the crazy number saying, I'm about to leave them?
Correct.
And that's at 12:19 p.m.?
That was actually, the timestamp you want to look at is still 12:19, but this is when the actual message was sent and then it was actually delivered. There's a little bit of lag time there just based on the amount of time it takes to move through Apple servers.
Okay. So it gets sent at 12:19:34 and then delivered about a second later?
That's correct.
All right. Based on the latitude and longitude that's contained within that lock file, are you able to extract that information?
Yes, I am.
And can you plug it into Google Maps?
Yes, correct.
All right. So showing you on stage 23, is that what you've done here?
Yes, it is.
All right. So this is the latitude and longitude from that you message that we saw?
Yes.
And it corresponds to this address?
Correct.
And same thing?
Correct. That's a street view of the same residence.
Again, asked to look for contact between the 866-2370 and the 478, now 305-9583 number.
Yes, correct.
And so is that what we see here?
Yes.
And this is the same contact sheet that we've seen before? And same thing?
Same thing.
Slide 28, the continuation of those contacts between those two numbers?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and we see, the timestamp and that same photograph we saw earlier, the same video file?
Correct.
There it is again.
There it is.
All right, and then 30, continuation of that?
Correct.
31?
Yes, correct.
32?
Correct.
Just more contacts between the two of them?
More contacts and more log entries for the interaction database.
And 33?
More messages.
Okay, and that same thing where that number is saying to the 866 number, hey, your account's been activated or whatever.
That's correct.
All right, we also asked to look for the 904-866-2370 to 904-704-1595.
Yes, that's correct.
And what do we see here?
Here you see the contact sheet for that phone number. The name it's saved under is Ksoo.
Okay, so that's what the user of the phone has saved that number for?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and then here we have a login for the username Ksoo23x.
Yes, that's correct.
With that email account, so8198442@yahoo.com.
Yes.
And then here, associated with the Instagram account, it says for booking features, contact at Hop CEO Manager.
Yes, correct.
And that's that Instagram account we saw earlier that's signed into this phone.
Yes, it is.
In addition to contact logs, communications between parties, are you also able to search for photographs?
Yes.
And in this instance, did you find a saved photograph on the 866-2370, a saved photograph?
Yes, I did.
So on 37, can you explain to the jury what this is?
So this is a screenshot of an Instagram post. It was saved to this device on March 30th, 2020 at 6:57 p.m. It's already been corrected for Eastern Daylight Time in this case.
And the content of the saved, it says Ksoo23x here at the top?
Correct. So that's the account that it was posted under, and then the caption, RIP Big Brother, I stood on all 10 about you. and then Don't Speak on Willie, and then Been a Year.
Now, based on this, do you know if that's the day that the Instagram post was made, or if that's just the day that the screen capture was taken?
That's just the date that the screen capture was made.
I'm next going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit NI. Take a look at this item and tell me if you recognize this. Items from the extraction report with the number 904-624-684.
Yes, it is.
Your item is 96, move in with the mark as NI, states 241.
Okay, any objection from Mr. Whitaker?
Just subject to the prior objection, Your
All
Honor.
right. Any objection from Mr. Robinson?
Previous motions and objections, Your Honor.
Okay. And those being overruled, we'll move 10I, composite exhibit, into evidence as states 242.
242. And published.
Yes.
All right, detective, jury's going to get used to this pretty quickly, but slide 41, do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Same idea as before. You receive the phone in the evidence bag,
Correct?
check the phone, make sure working, functional, that sort of thing.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Slide 42, same idea, take photographs of the phone.
Correct?
And slide 43, same idea, SIM card and SIM card tray.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, I'm doing this one now. I'll move on to that one next. And just for reference, I have numbered these wrong. We're on 242, but I'm showing 241 on the screen. But it's 10I or the 624-3684 number.
Yes, sir.
All right. Moving on, device information sheet, same idea. So we've got the MS-ISDN number, that shows the phone number.
Correct?
The IMEI number for the SIM card tray that you talked about.
That's correct.
The Apple ID again,
Correct?
and there's the MS-ISDN again.
Yes, that's correct.
Sometimes can a phone be used by multiple different, like if you sell your phone, somebody else can use the phone or different SIM card or something.
Yes, correct.
You may have like a last used the MS-ISDN that's different.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, same idea. Look at user accounts.
Correct?
So we see multiple logins as the original gangstajithop@gmail.com.
Yes, that's correct.
Same idea.
Yes, that's Facebook and additional other accounts.
Same idea.
Same idea.
You were asked to look for messages with 702-918-4911,
Yes, correct.
specifically on December the 28th of 2019.
Correct.
Can you explain this page?
So these are text messages on that date between the 904-624-3684 phone number and the 702-918-4911 phone number. These were sent between 1:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 3:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. And the content,
The
inwards at the house.
inwards at the house, the user of this phone, the 3684 number, asks who, and then the 4911 number says McCormick, and then the 3684 number replies okay. Asks
for the timeline of between the same two numbers that we just saw, but now for January the 15th, 2020?
Correct?
You explained states on slide 52.
So these are the call log entries between those, are on that date between the numbers.
Okay. So jury can look at it and see the kind of the back and forth of what's going on between these two phones.
Right, correct.
702 calls, there's a conversation, and then this number calls that number back and forth going on.
Correct. And some of them were answered, some of them were not answered, some were missed, but the headers on the columns explain what everything means.
Okay. And then this column, sometimes they're using FaceTime video calls.
That's correct.
On slide 53.
That's additional parts of the call log there between the two parties with various lengths of time, various answered or unanswered, and it's continuing on this page between 5:26 a.m. and 10:37 p.m.
Okay. So this phone for 7, 8, and 9 on this slide is trying to call that number repeatedly and is getting a not answered, and a 6-second call?
Correct.
All right, and then jumping ahead, this phone, again, tries to call that 702 number at 11:49. There's a 2-second duration.
That's correct.
And then we don't get another call until 4:14 that afternoon.
Correct, and that one was not answered.
Slide 54 asked for calls between this number, the 624-3684, and 904-803-3671.
That's correct.
What do we see here on 55?
This is a text message between those two numbers, the 803-3671 and the 624-3684 number. In this case, this phone receives a message with the body Scotty, and it was sent at 8:41 and 49 seconds p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 15th, and it was read approximately 6 minutes later at 8:47:42 p.m.
Okay. So this number, 803-3671, sends to the phone that we're talking about the name Scotty.
Correct.
Between this message and later on, did you find a series of communications between those two phones?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So the blue is that device calling this phone or texting this phone, and then the green is this phone responding?
That's correct.
All right. On slide 57, can you explain to the jury what this is?
This is a picture message that was sent between or from 803-3671 to 624-3684. Appears to be a selfie photograph. It was sent at 11:49 and 8 seconds a.m. on January 13th, 2020, and it was read shortly thereafter at 11:50 a.m.
So this number, the 803 number, 803-3671, sends this selfie photograph.
That's correct.
All right, slide 58. We're now on to January the 15th of 2020 at 11:05 in the morning.
That's correct.
And what do we see here?
It is a message between the two parties again, and it says send location.
And what do we see here a couple minutes later?
There you see another one of those cl.loc files, which contains a location within the file.
So the 803 number is now sending the location to that green number.
That's correct.
All right. And again, are you able to extract the latitude and longitude coordinates from that location file?
Yes, I am.
And able to map them in Google Maps?
Yes, that's correct.
What do we see here on slide 59?
These are 3 additional cl.loc files, which contains location information, latitude and longitude.
Okay. So at 11:20 a.m., 11:20 a.m. again, 11. Those are the times they're actually sent, right?
Right, the sent is at the bottom there. So the first one was sent at 11:08, the second one was sent at 11:09, and the third one was sent at 11:18.
And then all three of them were just read at the same time?
That's correct.
And again, you're able to extract the latitude and longitude coordinates from those loc files?
Yes, that's correct.
It's slide 60, same idea?
Correct. Two additional location files. One was sent at 11:21, the other was sent at 11:41.
Okay. And then at 12:03 p.m., this phone that we're looking at sends back to that 803 number this phone number.
Correct.
And that's the first phone number that we looked at earlier today.
Yes, that's correct.
So slide 62, these library VCFs, do those correspond to those locations that we just talked about?
Yes, they do.
So first one here takes you back to this address at 1033 Townsend Boulevard.
That's correct.
Second one here on slide 65 takes us again to 1033 Townsend Boulevard.
Correct.
Third one here, again back to that address.
That's correct.
And the fourth one here, again back to that address.
Correct.
You were asked to pull the calls between those two numbers, the ones that we just looked at with the shared locations.
Yes, I was.
So here on slide 72.
These are multiple calls between the two parties. In this case, all of them are in outgoing direction, so these are calls to the 803-3671 number, all between 5:44:01 a.m. and 6:44:06 a.m. Some of them were answered, but it appears most of them were not.
Here on slide 73.
So it's, again, more calls between the two numbers using the FaceTime application. In this case, we see calls from and to, both incoming and outgoing. Some of them were missed, some of them were answered, but they all occurred between 6:59 and 53 seconds a.m. and 8:07:07 a.m. Eastern Time.
74.
74 is more the same. The call logs in this case, 8:34 and 56 seconds a.m. to 10:24 and 53 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. Again, some of them incoming, some of them outgoing in various states that have answered and missed.
Slide 75.
75 is more the same, more portions of the call log, in this case between 10:25, 16 seconds a.m. and 11:03 and 44 seconds a.m. Again, more outgoing and incoming in various states of being missed and answered.
76.
76, more the same. In this case, these were between 11:04 and 51 seconds a.m. and 11:24, 40 seconds a.m. All between the two numbers as previously stated, all incoming and outgoing, and in this case, all of these were answered.
77.
It's more the same contacts between the two parties. In this case, one incoming and the rest are outgoing. They all occur between 11:27 and 19 seconds a.m. and 11:50 and 59 seconds a.m. Some of them were answered and some were not.
78.
It's more the same contact between the two parties, both incoming and outgoing. One incoming, the rest were outgoing. And these all occur between 11:52, 16 seconds a.m. and 12:20, 47 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. And it looks like all those were answered.
And finally, 79.
The next one is more the same, outgoing calls and incoming calls. All of these were answered. One was not answered. The rest were answered. They all occur between 12:21, 24 p.m. and 11:19 and 42 seconds p.m.
All right. You were asked to look at contact between this phone and the first phone that we looked at.
That's correct.
Let's see here on 81.
Correct. It's portion of the call log between these two parties. These were all calls on January 15th, 2020, between 11:35 and 13 seconds a.m. and 12:48 and 41 seconds p.m.
What is low key?
Low key is the name that this person saved that number in their address book under in the contacts.
82, more calls?
More calls between 12:49 and 5 seconds p.m. and 4:14:33 p.m. And this was Eastern time.
83 more calls?
More calls between 4:16:04 p.m. and 5:26:55 p.m.
And 84 more calls?
More calls between 5:28:01 p.m. and 9:36:57 p.m.
Okay. Same idea. You were asked to look for messages on January the 15th from between this phone and that first phone that we looked at?
That's correct.
And here we see the same thing we saw earlier,
Yes, correct.
just in the inverse.
In the inverse.
And again, you're able to pull the location data from the log file.
That's correct.
And is that the address again?
Yes, it is.
Going to slide 90, on occasion, are you able to obtain what are called like native location from the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And where does that come from?
That the native locations are coming from the actual GPS sensor on a cellular phone.
So the phone is recording location events for where it thinks that it is?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Nowadays, is that pretty prevalent information that you can get from phones?
Yes, it is.
In 2020, were you often seeing location data from phones?
We were still seeing location data, but not to the extent that we see 5 years later.
So not all phones had on location services in 2020?
Correct.
91, so is this what we're talking about?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so at 4:40 in the morning on the 15th, this is where approximately the phone thinks that it is.
That's correct.
All right. Nowadays, are you getting what's called a confidence interval?
Yes.
Okay. In 2020, were you getting confidence intervals?
Not in this case, no, sir.
So this is, you can't say how confident the phone is that it thinks that it's here.
That's correct.
But that's where the phone records that it thinks that it is.
Correct.
All right, Mr. Atkinson, I apologize for the interruption in the testimony. I've gotten a bathroom break request from one of the jurors, so I'm going to have both juries step inside to your respective courtrooms, and we'll take a brief recess for another short bio break. Thank you very much. Defendants present with their attorneys and counsel for the state. Are all sides ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's bring out the jurors, please. Yes.
Your Honor, jury not in the courtroom.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may take your seats. We have someone in the restroom. Oh, okay. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may take your seats. All right, and State, you may continue with your questioning.
Thank you. Detective, where we left off, we were talking about the device locations from the 624-3684.
That's correct.
So we talked about the first one. Second one here, you see that on your screen?
That's correct. Yes, I can.
So at 6:17:45 in the morning, the phone thinks that it is here,
Correct.
near Eastport Road.
Correct.
At 8:02 a.m., the phone thinks that it's here near Dalehurst Drive.
That's correct.
Here at 9:32 a.m., the phone thinks that it is here at this apartment complex off Atlantic Boulevard.
That's correct.
Here at 11:45 a.m., the phone again thinks it's back on Dalehurst Drive.
That's correct.
Here at 1:22, the phone now believes it's back where it started at Brown Jersey Court.
That's correct.
In addition to location data, are you also able to determine like what searches somebody has searched for on the phone?
Yes, that's correct.
So here on the 16th of January, 2020, this phone searched for how to delete map history off your phone.
That's correct.
And it also asked how to transfer messages from my phone.
Correct.
Now showing you mark as State's Exhibit 10H for identification purposes. Take a look at this.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this time the State of moving evidence marked 10H as 241.
All right, any objection from Defendant Whitaker
Is subject to prior objections, Your Honor.
and from Defendant Robinson?
Prior motions and objections, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, this being overruled, 10H will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 241.
I publish.
Yes.
Detective, ignore my exhibit stickers because I swapped the last two phones, but we're on 241. Same idea?
Yes, that's how it was received.
And there's the phone.
Front and back of the phone,
There's the SIM card tray
SIM card tray, and the SIM card.
and the device information.
Yes, that's correct.
And the Apple ID now is bigatk13@gmail.com.
Correct.
And we've got the MSISDN number, the phone number that we're talking about here.
Yes, that's correct.
Same thing, user accounts.
Correct.
All right, so we have the bigatk13@gmail several times.
Yes, that's correct.
Same idea.
Same accounts, still for all the Apple services.
And on 109, we see the big ATK, but then we also see Crazy K.
Correct,
As
with
the
the Twitter account.
110, again, Crazy K, K Crazy.
That's correct, for Instagram this time.
Okay. And then we also see that same original gangsta jit hop from the 624 number.
Correct, with a Dropbox account.
You were asked to look for a timeline between the two different 478 numbers.
That's correct.
So the 491, 2831, and the 305, 9583.
Correct.
And this is on January the 15th, 2020.
That's correct.
Can you explain what we see here on slide 112?
So these are log entries that are logged in the identity lookup service, which is a service used by Apple to ensure that the person that you're trying to contact has a valid Apple account. In this case, you see it at basically three different times: 11:39, 36 seconds a.m., about 21 seconds later, and then later on, 5 days later at 7:51:39 p.m. But it's all the same process. It's ensuring that the 478-305-9583, which is a number that this phone is trying to contact either by text message or by phone number, it's just making sure that that number is a valid Apple account.
Okay, so if I am trying to call you, the first step that the phone is going to do is say, is this a valid number?
Correct.
And then this is Facebook or this is the phone indicating that the number has been authenticated. So my attempt to call you is allowed to go through.
That's correct.
All right, and so we've got at 11:39 a FaceTime audio call and 11:39 a FaceTime video call.
Right, and to further that point, FaceTime can only be used between Apple users, so that process has to run in order for a FaceTime call to be successful.
All right, so we're going to go into an item located on the 478-491-2831, a location preview.
Correct.
So I'm showing you on slide 114. So first, explain to the jury what this page is. What do we see here?
This is a file details view. It's a screenshot from the Cellbrite program itself. But
So is this what you see on your computer when you're performing a Cellbrite extraction and validation?
yes, that's correct.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No problem. So this is a file details page. The name of the file in this case is that phone number, the 478-305-9583-preview an identifier number .jpg. So it's a JPEG photo. The created date, created, modified, and access time are all the same on this photo. It's at January 15th, 2020 at 12:07 a.m. p.m. Eastern time. So on the left-hand side, we have some clues as to how that particular photo gets here. It's in the mobile SMS folder here. These are pictures that are associated with a text message. And then we go down here to previews. It's a preview photo. And then the type of preview photo is a location. So based on research with several different devices, I've determined that that particular photo is only present on the phone if someone shares a location via text message.
Okay. So that I understand, if you text me your location, and it brings up like a little map in my text messages where I would click on it to go into it. That's what this is.
Correct. If I was to share my location with you via text message, a small map, in this case, very small picture, as you can tell on the resolution, the 144 by 144 is a very small thumbnail image, but it's a preview photo of the location where I currently am.
Okay. Did you ever find a corresponding message that goes with this photograph?
No, I did not.
But obviously, does the user have the ability to delete messages?
They do have the ability to delete message, correct.
This is located in the preview. Can you explain what a cache file is?
A cache file is a background function of, cache files are created as a background function of the phone, and it's primarily used so photos and videos can load quicker on your phone. But in this case, a small version of that photo is saved on the phone. A user, I can't go into my phone and try to delete this message out of the cache.
So the original message, corresponding message may be gone, but the cache file, the user doesn't have the ability to control.
That's correct.
Okay. And this is at 1/15/2020 at 12:07 p.m. And this is from this number, from 478-305-9583 to the 478 number that we're looking at.
Objection leading.
If you'll re-ask your question.
Which number sent the message?
The phone number we're looking at here, the 478-305-9583.
Sent the message to?
Sent the message to this device.
All right. And here on 115, is this what you're talking about?
That is the cache file itself.
So this is the preview image that's on the phone where somebody shared location.
That's correct.
All right. And we see Lone Star Road.
Correct.
All right. Going forward, we talked earlier about searches, how somebody's able to, you're able to look at the websites. First, Core. Are you familiar with Core?
Yes, I am.
What is Core?
Core is the clerk of the court website, contains information about cases and both current and historical cases.
Okay. You can have a login to access Core?
You can have a login. There's also public access for it.
When you run a report for like a website like this, is it going to show you exactly which page is visited as opposed to like the domain?
Not necessarily. In most cases, for a search engine like Core, it's not possible to see what was actually searched. It just stays on the home page itself.
Okay, so you can't tell what I'm looking at. You can just see that I looked there.
That's correct.
All right. Oops, sorry. All right, so slide 117, web history, is that what we're talking about?
That's correct.
All right, so this phone is accessing Core on all these different occasions?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
What's happening on this slide?
Those are separate visits to this core.duvalclerk.com website.
Okay. And what do we see here?
You see the Core website being accessed via public access mode.
Slide 118, what do we see?
It's more the same, the public access being accessed, as well as more visits to the Core website.
119, what do we see?
More visits to the Core website using public access.
120, what do we see?
More access to the Core website using public access.
121, what do we see?
Additional visits to the Core website.
122, what do we see?
Additional visits to the Core website.
123.
Additional visits to the Core website.
And 124.
Additional visits to the Core website.
And specifically at number 26, what time do we see that?
That was on January 15, 2020 at 3:43 and 32 seconds a.m. Eastern Time.
Same idea with News for Jack searches?
Correct.
And again, are you able to see exactly what page was accessed?
Not exactly, no.
126, what do we see?
On page 126, we see visits to the News4Jax website on January 15th, 2020.
127.
Additional visits to the News4Jax website on January 15th, 2020.
128.
And the following day, January 16th, 2020, those are additional visits to News4Jax.
Same idea, but with the JSO inmate search page.
That's correct.
Can you see exactly what inmate is searched for?
Not exactly, no.
130, what do we see?
So these are all visits on the inmate search website that the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office hosts. These are all on January 15th, 2020, going to January 16th, 2020.
131.
These are additional visits on January 16th, 2020 to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office inmate search page.
132.
These are additional visits on January 16th, 2020 to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office inmate search page.
123, or 133, I'm sorry.
These are additional visits on January 16th to the inmate search page for the Sheriff's Office.
Slide 134.
Additional visits on January 16th to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office inmate search page.
135.
And more of the same, January 16th, visits to the inmate search page for the Sheriff's Office.
You're able to locate photographs on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Can you explain what's in 137?
So this is a screen, it's a photograph of what appears to be a computer screen. It was created on January 17th, 2020 at 9:14 a.m. and appears to be a photo of the inmate search page of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
What name do we see there?
Janera Smith.
This is the first time I think the jury has seen metadata on a phone. Can you explain what this is?
So metadata is basically data that concerns other data. In this case, this is data that contains attributes about this particular photo file. In this case, it shows the make and model of the phone. In case it's a Apple iPhone 11, but it also has a capture time, which is what the actual time that the photo was taken. And then in this case, it was taken on January 17, 2020 at 9:14 and 2 seconds, which also matched the modified and access time of this photo. And in this case, it also contains a latitude and longitude coordinate.
Okay. 138, what do we see?
These are additional photographs that were found on the phone. These were taken on January 19th, 2020 at 11:59 a.m. These are selfie photographs. They also have metadata with this, as well as a latitude and longitude location coordinate.
And can you explain to the jury what the significance of these being found in the DCIM file is?
The DCIM files contain files that are on the phone itself. It was taken by the actual phone that is, in this case, being examined.
And 139.
These are one additional selfie photograph, also in the DCIM folder, which was taken from the phone itself. It does have metadata. It was taken on January 19th, 2020 at 12:35 p.m. It also has a latitude and longitude coordinate.
All right.
Detective, I'm showing you now what has been marked.
That states exhibit NJ for identification purposes. Take a moment to look at that. Is that the investigative folder for the phone number 904-704-1595?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the statement of movement evidence is marked as NJ, as states 243.
Okay, any objection from Mr. Whitaker
Subject to prior objections, Your Honor.
and from Mr. Robinson?
Previous motions and objections, Your Honor.
Okay. Those being overruled, 10J will be marked into Evidence of State's Exhibit 243.
May I publish?
Yes.
Okay. Back on track. I got my numbers right now. 143, same idea?
Same idea. That's how the phone was received.
144,
Front and back of the phone.
145.
The SIM tray and SIM card that was mounted.
Okay, so that 58282.
Correct.
And we come to the device ID screen. Same idea?
Same idea. It's listed as the IMEI number for that phone.
Okay, so that same 58282 there.
Correct.
All right, Apple ID.
The Apple ID is S08198442@yahoo.com.
And the last used MSISDN.
The last used MSISDN, which is the phone number for this phone, is 904-704-1595.
User accounts, same idea?
Correct.
All right, so we see
These are all user accounts that were logged into the device. These are all Apple services for the S08198442@yahoo.com account.
okay, 149, more of the same.
Those are more of the same. Appears to be all Apple services logged in under that S08@yahoo.com account.
And 150, what do we see as the Twitter account name?
The Twitter account for this is ATK Ksoo.
What do we see as the Snapchat account?
The Snapchat account name is backstreet.ksoo.
And what do we see as the Expedia account name?
The Expedia account name is Hakeem Robinson.
151,
Those are
we see as
additional,
the account name.
correct, additional account name, account information. The account name is Kimi.
The screen time name,
The screen time name is Ksoo23.
and the Dropbox name.
And the Dropbox name is Ksoo23.
Based on your review of this phone, were you able to obtain some media files?
Yes, it was.
Showing you 153. Can you explain to the jury what we see here?
This is a selfie photograph. It was found in an SMS attachment, which means it was in a text message. In this case, it was created on November 25th, 2019 at 8:50 and 59 seconds a.m., again, using a FaceTime or attachment through FaceTime.
$154. Can you explain what's on slide 154?
On slide 154, this is a video file that was found on the device. It contains latitude and longitude coordinates, which is mapped there on the bottom left near the Museum of Science and History. This was found, it was created on December 11th, 2019 at 3:50 and 34 seconds a.m. The file became visible on the device at 3:50 a.m. And then what we see in the metadata is the QuickTime content identifier, which identifies the Apple device as being the creator of the video file. It came from an Apple iPhone XS Max using that particular software version. And then there's also a creation date captured in the metadata of the file on December 11th, 2019 at 6:38 and 48. And this one is in UTC, so we have to go back 5 hours. So this one was actually created at 1:38 a.m.
So this file that we see was messaged to this device,
That's correct.
but this metadata here is the actual date and time creation of, so this is, sorry, I'm confusing here, but the top part where we see this created, modified, accessed, that's the creation date on the device itself.
Right, that's
Sustain, just rephrase.
This portion up here What is this?
This is the time and date that the video was received on this device.
Okay. And below it, the metadata, what is that?
The metadata is the data that was attached to the file by the Apple iPhone XS Max, which contains information about the photo itself, including the creation date of December 11th, 2019, and in this case, it's 1:38 a.m. Eastern Time.
Is that the actual date that this video file was created?
That's correct.
Going to 155, 156, you found a message there. Can you explain this?
This is an outgoing text message from the 704-1595 telephone number to 904-380-1471, which is saved in the contacts as Diamond Duval. The body of the message says, I just got to Jacksonville, this shit here so boring. It came from the native text message app from the phone.
$157. We'll get to 158. What do we see on 158?
So this phone, the 704-1595 phone number, texted 305-321-0896, which is saved in the contact as Red DDDT, asking what's B-Thing number. It was sent on October 16th, 2019 at 9:54, 17 seconds. In this case, it's Eastern Daylight Time. It was delivered at the same time. And then the person replies with a phone number 702-918-4911, which we've already seen. That message was sent on October 16th, 2019 at 9:58 and 24 seconds p.m. Again, that's Eastern Daylight Time.
And were you asked to look for all contact between this device and that 702-918-4911 number?
Yes, I was.
So here, 160, is this the timeline of that content?
Correct. That's the timeline view of all the contact between those two numbers.
Can you tell the jury when it begins and when the last message that you saw was?
The contact began on October 19, 2019, 11:32:17 Eastern Daylight Time, and it ended on November 27, 2019, 11:09:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Can you explain to the jury what power events are on the phone?
Power events are logged by the phone. In this case, whether a phone is powered on, there's different states or different methods of powering on the device. Back in 2020, the logging system on Apple iPhones was not as robust as it is now, so all we see is power on events.
You don't see any power off events?
That's correct. We do not.
And were you asked to generate a report of power events from the 13th of January 2020 to the 17th of January 2020?
That's correct.
Looking at 162, can you tell the jury what we see here on January the 15th of 2020?
So these are all the power on events between January 13th, 2020 and January 17th, 2020. As we see on the 15th, there is a power event at 5:55 and 49 seconds a.m., and then there's another power on event at 1:10 and 36 seconds p.m.
Is it fair to say that because of the existence of the power event at 1:10:36, at some point the phone had to have been powered off?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
So on this case, phone has to be powered off in order for it to be powered on again. So in this case, at 1:10 and 36 seconds, the phone was powered off, or else it wouldn't have. You can't power on a device if it's already powered on.
Do you have any way of knowing when, based solely on the power events, do you have any way of knowing when the device was powered off?
No, I do not.
Do you know how the phone was powered off?
No, I do not.
Based on the application usage, are you able to determine when the phone was in use?
Yes, that's possible.
So going to the phone event timeline on 164, can you explain to the jury what we see here and what your opinion is as to when the phone was no longer powered on?
So this is a timeline view of all of the activity. In this case, it's between 5:56 and 31 seconds a.m. and 6:11 and 44 seconds a.m. That's all Eastern Standard Time. These are all everything that's going on on the phone at the time. In this case, there's several incoming and outgoing messages, and there's also a log entry there. So between these, say about 15 minutes or so, there is pretty constant activity on the phone itself.
So would you say from 5:56 until 6:11 the phone is powered on?
That's correct.
Going to the next slide.
So that's more of the same, more incoming and outgoing text messages indicating that the phone is powered on, and these are all between 6:11:57 a.m. and 6:26:52 a.m.
Next slide on 166.
This is more of the same. This is log entries, instant messages, and emails between 6:27 and 02 a.m. and 1:10:45 p.m. But you'll see that there is a little bit of a gap in time there. The timestamps on the emails are the time that the email reached the person's email server. So in this case, the yahoo.com account received an email at 6:43. That doesn't necessarily mean that the phone received it at that time. That just means the account received it at that time. And then again, the same at 9:23 and 48. The person's email account received an email message from Apple News at that 9:23 and 48 a.m. time. So you see the reliable indicators here being the instant messages at 6:27, and then the other reliable indicator at the log entry at 1:10:45, and there's basically no activity in between, aside from the person's account receiving that, but not the phone itself.
And then 167.
So 167 is more the same. Here we see the activity pick back up again. There's a log entry at 1:10, and then more incoming and outgoing text messages starting around 3:32 p.m. Up to 3:48 p.m.
Is it your opinion that sometime between 6:27 a.m. and 1:10 p.m. there was no activity on the phone?
Yes, it is.
Is your opinion that at some point during that time period the phone was powered off?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
Yes, it is my opinion that the phone was powered off between sometime between those two times.
Detective, I am now showing you as Exhibit 9U. For identification purposes.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this time the state of moving evidence was marked as 9U, as the next is states 229.
All right, any objections from Defendant Whitaker?
Just subject to the prior objection, Your Honor.
Previous motions and objections, Your Honor.
Okay. Those being overruled, 9U will be marked into evidence as State's Exhibit number 29.
And may I publish?
Yes.
Detective, can you explain the difference again between, or I guess now, between what happens when you receive an iPhone or a phone and an iCloud account?
So the process to process an iCloud account is quite a bit different than extracting a cell phone. In this,
Speak up a little bit, sorry.
I'm sorry. So the Apple, basically their law enforcement team, they email us a link and a decryption passcode, as well as instructions on how to download data from their website that's responsive to their search warrant that they were served. In this case, we reach out to the Apple servers, download the information directly from Apple, and then decrypt and decompress the data directly from their server. From there, we take the data, we load it back into the Cellbrite program like we've seen here, and then a report is generated.
As a result of the way that you have to get the data from Apple and place it back in the Cellbrite, as it relates to the created, modified, and access time that we had seen earlier with some of the entries, does that change for the iCloud?
Yes, it does. So the created, modified, and access times on these phones are not, on the iCloud accounts are not completely accurate. And the reason for that is the created date becomes the date that the data was actually written to the forensic computer. The remaining two dates are the accessed and the modified date. The access date is not necessarily as accurate, but it can be accurate. But the most accurate date on the iCloud accounts in this case would be either metadata that's contained within the content itself, or the actual modified date that's on the file. There's a slight limitation when we were doing the iCloud downloads years ago, to where there was a little bit of an issue with the timestamps, in that we're reaching out to Apple servers, which are located in California. That's 3 time zones away from where we are. I'm using a forensic computer in Jacksonville, Florida, which is on Eastern time, 3 time zones away again. So when I reach out to Apple servers, my computer is thinking it still needs to correct the timestamp. Well, in the case of Apple data, the timestamps on the files are stored in the local time of the user. So that data is stored in Eastern time. My forensic computer corrects for what it thinks is a time difference, and in turn changes the timestamps into what it thinks is local time, but it's actually 3 or 2 hours off. Okay. So in this case, I'll explain it when we get to one that I can show you, but the timestamps will be a little bit different here.
Okay. So the UTC that we've been using for the rest of the trial when it relates to iCloud accounts may be not applicable.
Correct, in this case.
And you'll explain when we get to particular items what the actual time is.
That's correct.
Can you explain to the jury what an iCloud backup is?
So an iCloud backup is something that's set up by the user. It's data from a phone that can be backed up into the cloud for either preservation purposes by the user, or if they're transferring devices, that sort of thing.
Is it an exact one-to-one copy of what is on the phone?
It is not, because for one thing, system files are not usually backed up by the user. It's not possible to back up a lot of the system files there, like power logs and stuff like that. And also, the user can pick and choose what they want backed up to the phone. They can choose just photos, just text messages, or they can choose none of those.
So as it relates first to this account, the S08, etc. at yahoo.com, were call records, like call records, FaceTime calls, etc., were they backed up onto the iCloud account?
No, they were not.
Okay, so we don't know what FaceTime calls were made pursuant to the iCloud return.
That's correct. We do not.
And were there messages backed up onto the iCloud?
Yes, there were.
Were there any messages backed up onto the iCloud prior to the date of January the 27th, 2020?
Yes, there were.
Prior to the date of January 27th?
Prior to the date, no, sir.
Okay, so the relevant date here, January the 15th, that date was not selected for backup onto this iCloud account?
That's correct.
Going into it, counts, is that one of the things that a user can choose to back up onto an iCloud account?
Yes, it is.
And for the S08198442, was that one of the things selected?
Yes, it was.
Can you explain what we see here?
These are the user counts that are backed up. In this case, these are all Apple services here pertaining to the S08198442 at yahoo.com Apple ID.
And 173, can you explain what we see here and specifically what we see at 11?
So this is the user information. In this case, they backed up a SMS phone number. In this case, multiple phone numbers. First one being 704-8910, the other one being 704-1595, and also 563-1260.
And this is that number that for the phone that we just looked at?
Yes, it is.
Can you explain to the jury what notes are?
Notes are it's a feature on an iPhone where you can type in notes to yourself. You can share them with friends and contacts, as well as you can create and delete messages on those particular notes, just a form of documentation.
Okay. Based on the iCloud return, does it give the date for when the notes were written?
Yes, it does.
Sorry. Do we have the times for when the notes were written?
Not in this case, no, sir.
And here on 175, are these the notes that came to that SO8 iCloud account?
Yes, they are.
Here on 176, what do we see here?
Those are additional notes that were found on the iCloud account.
And 177.
These are also additional notes that were found on the iCloud account.
Going forward to 178. If a user chooses to back up media files, they can be recovered from an iCloud account.
Yes, that's correct.
179, what do we see here?
These are video files that contain audio. They were found in the iCloud warrant returns for the SO8198442 at yahoo.com Apple ID. In this case, we do have modified dates. So it is January 15, 2020, 11:52 p.m. and January 15, 2020, 11:52 p.m. for the other one.
Nigga ducking, you ain't even take it so. Shooting Glock in ARs too. 4-5 big got record. Hood hotter than a stove. Circle small like a Cheerio. Homeboy died on his birthday, 23. Ain't here no more. Caught that nigga at the life. Y'all call when folk took.
This is the audio from the sound files that we just talked about.
Yes, it is.
What kind of Glock is in your hand? It's a 23. 5 niggas got hit up, sepsis 2. What's no 223? Who that in your blunt? Shit, we been smoking on Whitley. Quanka screaming out for help. Headshot instantly. It ain't no fair me. No.
181, what do we see here?
181 is a picture that was recovered from the SO8198442 at yahoo.com Apple iCloud account. It was taken by an Apple iPhone XR. It is a social security number for Hakeem Armani Robinson. You'll see the capture time there, January 16, 2020 at 10:54:01 a.m. And we see that in the metadata of the file, so we know it's accurate.
182, what do we see here?
This is an additional media file photograph that was found on the Apple iCloud for the same account. It is a photograph of a young man standing on concrete. It says, y'all add at Gangsta Jit Big ATK.
183.
183 is another photograph that was recovered from the the .red3 at yahoo.com iCloud account, and this was 3 gentlemen standing around a headstone.
Okay. And just to clarify, these are the extractions from the SO8 iCloud account?
That's correct.
$184, $185, $186, $187, $188. All of them, and we'll get to the end. But can you explain what we see on 184?
These are additional photo files that were found in the S08198442@yahoo.com iCloud account. In this case, we have metadata showing that the files were created on January 20th, 2020 at 1:13 p.m. and it appears to be a gentleman getting a pedicure.
And were all of those different video files created into one single video file?
Yes, they are.
So going forward to 189. And you said the metadata from that was on January the 20th?
Yes, that's correct.
Finally, Detective, I'm showing you what has been marked as its Exhibit 9B for identification purposes. We'll take a look at that. Is that the folder for the investigative efforts as it relates to the iCloud account, House of Pain 904
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this time the state would move in 9B as 230.
Okay. And on behalf of Mr. Whitaker
Is subject to prior objections, Your Honor.
and Mr. Robinson,
Previous motions and objections, Your Honor.
okay, this being overruled, 9B will be marked into evidence as State's Exhibit 230.
May I publish?
Yes.
Okay. The House of Pain 904 Gmail account, what was backed up onto this account?
In this account, it was primarily account information. There wasn't a whole lot of information on this account. There were some pictures, media files.
Okay. So just the account information and some photographs, media files?
That's correct.
All right. So going to the account page, can you explain what we see here?
So this is the user account information for House of Pain 904 at gmail.com. It gives the account name as House Pain. It's a full iCloud account. And we see the Game Center nickname. Also, we see some contact information. So the day phone number is entered as a contact into Apple when you're setting up your iCloud account. They could be day phone, night phone, home phone, cell phone, that sort of thing. And then you see a two-factor authentication phone, the same phone number, 478-305-9583. And what that's used for is whenever you need to log into your iCloud account, Apple will send you some sort of notification asking you if it's actually you logging into your iCloud account, and it's requesting authentication that way. In this case, it's sending a text message to that phone number requiring some sort of response by the user in order to log into the iCloud account.
Do the day phone and the two-factor authentication phone, are those from different places?
Those are in different places, that's correct. It's basically this phone number was entered as both the day phone and the two-factor authentication phone.
And so somebody who wants to log into the iPhone account to set up the phone would have to use the authentication to then say, yes, I got that code.
Yes, that's correct.
You said that there were media files backed up?
That's correct.
Okay. So same photograph from the very beginning of your direct?
Same photograph. In this case, we have metadata It was taken, FB camera would be, the Facebook application was used to take the photo. The capture time was December 24th, 2019 at 1:25 a.m.
198.
It's two video files created on November 24th, 2019 at, in this case, we have to do the conversion because there's no metadata associated with these files, so we'll subtract 2. It was created at 8:49:14 p.m. And again, we're subtracting 2 only because it's an iCloud account and it was processed a different way than the actual cell phones. The second video was created at 9:03:36 p.m.
Okay, and we'll explain that in a second. (201), you explained kind of this whole series, what we're looking at here, and then this photograph, what you see inside the photograph.
Okay, so we see in this 4 different images, and it has details about those particular images. In this first image here, it is a screenshot of an Instagram application. And what we see here is on the top left of the Instagram where it says your story, that is the person that's logged into Instagram, and that is their profile picture. And then that particular photograph was it was modified on January 14th, 2020 at, again, we're subtracting 2, is 2:09:16 p.m.
Okay, and I think the next slide will make more sense about the UTC distinction, but again, for iClouds, the modified date is the most reliable date.
That's correct.
Okay, so using this time reference here and this time reference here, explain UTC when it relates to iClouds.
So when it relates to iClouds, because there was that discrepancy that I referred to previously, with the computers here reaching out to the servers in California, there is that discrepancy. So instead of normally subtracting 5, and this only applies to iCloud accounts, you subtract 2 hours to get the actual time. So we see here, screenshot obviously was 1:55 p.m., but the modified date here is 3:55. So that correlates to the 2-hour difference between the time zones.
Well, on either case, we're still on January the 14th?
Correct, January 14th.
And then what is this photograph?
That is a screenshot of the home screen showing active T-Mobile service on this cell phone.
Okay. 203.
203 is another screenshot of the Instagram app, but from the Ksoo 23X account, and that was modified on January 13th, 2020 at 7:11, and we'll do the conversion back 2 hours. It's 5:11 p.m.
And then 204.
On this, it's another screenshot from Instagram. It was modified on January 11th, 2020 at 4:14 a.m.
Okay. And what's it say on the shirt there?
It says House of Pain on the shirt.
(206). What is this?
So 206, this is a photograph of what appears to be 2 gentlemen in a convenience store. It was, the photograph was created on January 4th, 2020 at 11:48:33 p.m. by an Apple iPhone XR, and it was found in the House of Pain 904 at gmail.com iCloud account.
Okay. The metadata here is the time and date that this photograph was actually taken.
That's correct. That's the most accurate representation of that data.
207.
It is same setting of the 2 gentlemen. These were created on January 4th, 2020 at 11:48 p.m. by what appears to be another Apple iPhone XR, and it was found in the House of Pain 904 at gmail.com iCloud account.
Okay. And 208?
208 is the same setting of the same two gentlemen. It's created January 4th, 2020, 11:48 p.m. with an iPhone XR from the houseofpain904@gmail.com iCloud account.
Okay. So based on that information, is it your opinion that the photograph of these two gentlemen was taken on January the 4th, 2020?
Yes, it is.
Finally, Detective, were you asked to review the photographs in the iCloud account House of Pain to locate what appeared to you to be selfie photographs?
Yes, I did.
All right. So can you tell the jury the modified date here, which you said again was the most accurate?
In this case, yes, it is.
All right.
The modified date is December 23rd, 2019. Back up 2 hours is 3:47 and 18 seconds a.m. This is another one. In this case, we do have a capture time in the metadata, which is the most accurate. It's December 27th, 2019 at 4:06 and 25 seconds p.m. Is another selfie photograph. And in this case, we don't have a metadata field, but it's December 28th, 2019, back up 2 hours, 1:37, 10 seconds a.m. It's two gentlemen in what appears to be a self-shot video file, and it was found in the houseofpain904@gmail.com iCloud account.
$213.
This is another selfie photograph. In this case, we do have capture time. It's December 31st, 2019 at 2:48 and 44 seconds p.m. It was taken with an Apple iPhone 11, and it was found in the houseofpain904@gmail.com iCloud account.
Okay. And based on that modified date that we've talked about and this capture time, does that tell you anything?
Right, that confirms what I was referring to earlier about the difference in time zones with the two different time zones.
This picture was taken at the same time that it was backed up onto this iCloud.
That's correct.
214.
214 is another selfie photograph. January 6, 2020 at 6:36 and 22 seconds p.m. It was found in the houseofpain904@gmail.com iCloud account.
215.
This is another photograph that was found in the same account. It was taken on January 8th, 2020 at 11:02 and 13 p.m. with an Apple iPhone 11, and that's found in the metadata of the file.
Okay. And same thing with the metadata and the modified date matching. So same time the photograph was taken, it was uploaded to the iCloud.
That's correct.
216.
216 is a video file that was found in the same account. It was created January 14th, 2020 at 1:23 and 10 seconds a.m. It is a screen recording of an Instagram Live.
Had an opportunity to watch it?
Yes, I have.
You're a sports fan?
Yes.
And do you remember the date, or were you asked to look up the date of the Clemson-LSU National Championship?
I looked it up. It was January 13th, 2020.
And this is celebration in a locker room on the 14th at 1:23 in the morning?
That's correct.
A couple more questions, Detective. You said as part of your responsibilities you were assigned to review the search warrant, so you know kind of the parameters of what you're allowed to do?
Yes, I am.
For the House of Pain 904 iCloud account, did you review that search warrant?
Yes, I did.
And what was the date range that Apple was told to provide all responsive data?
From January, sometime in January 2019 to February 23rd, 2021.
To February 2021?
That's correct.
After January the 14th of 2020, was there any responsive data at all?
No, there was not.
Is there any indication that phone was ever backed up ever again?
No, there was not.
Thank you, Detective. I don't have any other questions.
All right, cross-exam for Mr. Whitaker.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So if I understand correctly, you were given a number of devices, correct?
That's correct.
And then for the iCloud documentation, for the iCloud documentation, you would have been provided records?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. It does not appear that you ever received a device associated with the phone number 904-803-3671. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
And so there seemed to be a lot of discussion in regards to user IDs.
Correct.
And help me understand this. A user ID, if I have a phone that I normally use, you borrow it to check your Instagram. So you log into your Instagram on my device.
Correct.
If someone was doing a forensic download of my phone, they would see your user ID in my phone.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the fact that there are multiple different user IDs in any particular phone just lets us know at some time or on the dates and times actually selected, whoever was personally using that phone was using that particular ID.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
But that certainly doesn't mean if you have a record of someone logging into my Facebook account on January 1, that doesn't mean that on January 2nd I'm still using that phone.
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
So all of these are kind of somewhat date dependent, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And correct me also, you did not receive a phone associated with 305-321-0896?
I don't believe so, ma'am.
Okay. And so you were asked, I guess, a number of things, and so if I understand your testimony, basically you just explained that there were certain phone numbers that called other phone numbers, correct?
Correct.
And there were certain, I guess, phone numbers doing data downloads, correct?
Correct.
For your purposes and your responsibility in this case, you are not considered an investigator of this case, correct?
That's correct.
And I say that with all respect, meaning you don't go out and interview witnesses, correct?
That's correct.
They don't have you read over police reports or sworn statements or potential interviews. You're walking in blind.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
And so you, I guess, have pulled this data that certain phones had contacts with other phones, but you don't have any investigative knowledge of why we care.
I very little knowledge. That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Okay, cross for Mr. Robinson.
May we take a break, please?
Okay, let me see.
Sure.
All right, we'll make a short break. And ladies and gentlemen, then, if you'll please put your notepads on your seats and just have a step back into your jury room. And we will be out here shortly to continue with the questioning. Thank you so much. Go ahead and bring the jury out. If anyone wants to come back in, let's get them seated. Yeah. Thank you.
Jury 9 in the courtroom.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may all take your seats. And at this time, we'll call upon counsel for Mr. Robinson to cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Got a lot of phone numbers here, a little bit of organizing to do. The fact that my client, Hakeem Robinson, knows the other people that have these phones, does that make him involved in this murder?
I can't testify either way, sir. I'm a digital forensic guy, so I would say not necessarily.
All right. The fact that he communicated with people, does that mean that he's involved?
No, sir.
The fact that he raps about a life that they live, does that make him involved?
No, sir.
You saw a phone call, he was talking to somebody on the championship LSU team, right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Doesn't make him part of the team because he's talking to him on the phone.
Correct.
Right. Now, second topic, and we're focusing on the phone number 1595. We embrace that's our client's phone.
Sir.
You were asked questions by the state, by the government, about whether the phone was powered off.
Correct.
Okay. So, if my phone runs out of battery, it powers off, right?
That's correct.
If it's running updates, and they can be done automatically, it powers off, correct?
That's correct.
You, as the expert witness on this topic, you can't say why the phone may or may not have been powered off, right?
That's correct. So like I said, there's no record of power off entries at this point. It's just the power on entries. So that with there being no record of it being powered off, I would have no way of saying how or why it was powered off.
My client could be asleep, right?
Well, the phone would have to be powered off. It would be irrelevant to if your client was asleep or not.
We're talking about the reasons why it may be off. We have, it could be the updates, could be the battery died, could be he turned it off because he's asleep, right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
The government believes he turned it off because he was involved in this case, right?
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
It could also be out of range.
No, because there would still be user activity, or there would still be log entries in that case, not necessarily user activity because it would be off the network, but there would still be background functions happening during that time period.
If I get onto a boat and go fishing, it's going to look the same, right?
No, sir. It would look, like I said, there would still be background activity evident in the log entries in that case.
All right. If I'm offshore and I'm not communicating with the tower, there's no activity that's communicating with the phone, correct?
No, sir. Once again, there would still be background activity on the phone. There would be stuff written to the logs because if the phone was powered on and not on the network, then...
I understand what you're saying. I'll agree with you. I'll withdraw that one. You're saying that on the phone that you look at, it's going to have something on there for that time frame.
Correct, independent of it being connected to the network or not.
But as you sit here as the expert witness, you can't say why it was off that day.
No, sir, I can't.
Or if it was intentionally turned off.
I can't say that, no, sir.
Next topic. Now, I just want to clarify this, and again, you're the expert, so correct me if I'm wrong here. You testified and you said that the phone was not selected for backup that day. Do you remember that line of questioning?
You'll have to specify which account, sir.
All right. The 1595 account.
Okay.
There was questions about the phone, whether it was backed up. You remember that question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The backup of a phone to iCloud, that can be done automatically, correct?
That's correct.
Where the user isn't going, I want to back up today, I don't want to back up today?
Well, it's an automatic function, or it could be a manual function. It's user selectable.
You're not able to sitting here, say that that there was a choice made not to back it up that day?
No, sir, I can't.
You're just saying that it wasn't backed up?
It wasn't backed up any time after that time.
It could be an Apple situation if I wasn't backed up, correct?
That would be something for them to say.
It would be speculative to say that it was a decision by my client not to back up the phone.
Correct.
Next, and I believe this is slide 179. There was a song that was on the phone. You remember testifying about this a couple minutes ago?
Yes, sir.
All right. When was that song added to the account?
On January 15th, 2020.
What time?
At 11:52:06 p.m.
All right, so that's 12 hours, or that's roughly 12 hours after the murder happened.
Yes, sir, correct.
Right. So that would mean that my client is aware of the song after the murder happens?
Well, it was placed on this phone 12 hours after the murder. I'm not sure if he was aware of it before then or not.
It would be speculative to say that he was aware of it beforehand, right?
Considering this evidence, yes, sir.
All we have is that it was added to his iCloud account 12 hours later.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Now, the next topic, we've got the House of Pain email, and we also have some of the photographs. So let's start with the photographs first. That LSU call. Somewhere in here, give me 1 second. Okay. Now, are you able to differentiate in between whether this is a selfie taken by my client on his phone, or I'm sorry, on the House of Pain phone, or a screenshot taken by that phone?
All I can say from this, based on the naming convention of the file, is that it's a screen recording, sir.
Okay. So, for example, now we're not talking about the 1595 phone number, but we are talking about the House of Pain email, right?
The iCloud account, yes, sir.
All right. Now, let's say I have the House of Pain phone right here, right? And my client's on his 1595, and he's posting stuff on his Instagram. And I screen record that. It's going to look the same, right?
Yes, sir, it will.
Okay, so you're not saying that my client took a selfie of himself. You can't say that, right?
I can't say that, no, sir.
Because it could have been something that my client was doing that whoever had this other phone, the House of Pain phone, that they were taking a screenshot.
That's correct.
Now, with respect to the House of Pain email, are you able to say who that belonged to?
No, sir, that's not part of my investigation.
Did you review the Celebrite for the phone number ending in 9583?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Abdul Robinson Sr.'s phone.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember a text message on December 31st where his phone, the 953, received a text message that read, "Your line, 478-305-9583, has been restored. For details, view the account events section on my T-Mobile." Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
So basically, a message was sent by T-Mobile to Abdul Robinson Sr.'s known phone saying, you've got a balance on the 305-9583 number.
Don't recall anything about a balance, but I do recall the message of it being restored, yes, sir.
That would indicate to you that he has control over that phone, right?
Yes, sir.
Not my client.
Correct.
In that account, was also registered over to the House of Pain email account, right?
That's correct.
Give me 1 second, Your Honor. Now, the different lines of questions that we just talked about, the payment by Abdul Robinson Sr., the registering of that email address over to his accounts, the fact that they could have been screenshots, the reasons why it was powered off, is that anywhere in the presentation the government just did?
No, sir.
All right. Now, last line of questions, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that you're not a huge fan of drill rap.
Correct.
Big drill rap guy? No.
No.
All right. The notes that you saw in the slideshow, you can't say when those notes were left, right?
Right. There's no timestamps on those.
No times, no dates, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And are you aware that one of them, or let me withdraw that, some of the notes you notice that they rhyme, right?
Correct.
Does that indicate to you that it may be lyrics for a song?
That it could be. Yes, sir.
Are you aware that one of them, when it's bang and thang, that has to do, those are lyrics from his very first song years prior in a compilation with a late rapper named J.D. Youngin?
I'm not aware of that, sir.
Again, it's not a crime for him to rap about a life that others are living, right?
That's correct.
Your understanding from JSO, you may not be a fan, but that type rap sells.
Right.
One brief moment.
Okay.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any redirect?
I can have a moment. Detective, I just want to back up a little bit. Counsel asked you about the LSU video.
Yes.
There's no metadata on that one, right?
No, there's not.
Okay, but on this one, on 215, with the capture time at January the 8th, 2020, 11:02, 13 p.m., and the modified date, you said you subtract 2 hours, so that would be 11:02, 12 p.m.?
That's correct.
And so the picture is being captured and then effectively recorded on the iCloud at the exact same time.
That's correct.
And that's on an iPhone 11?
Yes.
Okay. And we have that again on December the 31st,
That's correct.
where they're being captured and taken and posted to the iCloud at the same time.
Yes, that's correct.
And again on December the 27th, 2019.
Yes, that's correct.
People sing songs about real things,
Yes, they do.
and your role in this case is as a forensic investigator. You don't know what the other evidence is.
That's correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Officer, you are excused and free to go. Detective, sorry. Okay, State, you may call your next witness.
Abdul Robinson Sr.
All right, let's bring out Mr. Robinson Sr. All right, Mr. Robinson, if you'll come forward and be sworn.
Do you want to know?
All right, sir, if you'll have a seat in that chair and speak clearly, verbally, and closely to that microphone. If you'll sit up a little closer. All right, State, you may proceed.
Thank you. May it please court.
Yes.
Would you please state your name for the record, sir?
Abdul Robinson Sr.
please stay close to the microphone and your voice up. Do you have any nicknames?
Yes, Blue.
And how old are you today?
54.
Do you have any children?
Yes.
How many?
I have 11 children.
What's the age of your oldest child?
34.
And your youngest?
6.
Prior to getting arrested, did you have a good relationship with all of your children?
Yes.
And are you currently incarcerated on a number of felony charges?
Yes.
On 2 separate cases?
Yes.
When were you arrested and taken into custody?
September 10th, 2020.
And have you remained incarcerated since your arrest?
Yes.
Have you been charged by the state with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder and solicitation to commit first-degree murder related to the murder of Damon Rothermel?
Yes.
And when did that murder take place?
I think on January 31st, 2019.
And there was the potential for you to be charged as a principal in that murder, is that correct?
Yes.
But you weren't.
No.
And do you have co-defendants who have been charged with the murder of Damon Rothermel?
Yes.
And who are they?
Christopher Brown, Derek Hudson, Dominique Bonner.
And so you know who all 3 of those individuals are?
Yes.
Have you also been charged by the state with accessory after the fact to commit first-degree murder related to the murder of Charles McCormick?
Yes.
And did that murder take place on January 15th of 2020?
Yes.
Are Hakeem Robinson, Abdul Robinson Sr., Leroy Whitaker, and Dominique Barner also charged with the murder of Charles McCormick?
Yes.
How are you related to Abdul Robinson Jr. and Hakeem Robinson?
Their father.
They have the same mother?
No.
Who's Abdul Robinson Jr.'s mother?
Angela Lundy.
And what about Hakeem Robinson?
Ebony Walters.
Who's older between Abdul Jr. and Hakeem?
Abdul Jr.
How much older?
About 4 years.
Do you recall what Abdul Robinson Jr.'s birthday is?
Yes.
What is it?
November 9th, 94.
And what about Hakeem Robinson?
November 9th, 98.
So same day, just 4 years apart.
Yes.
Does Abdul Jr. have any nicknames?
Yes.
And what are they?
Little Blue, Crazy K,
Does he also go by his middle name sometimes?
Kareem.
Does Hakeem Robinson have any nicknames?
Yes.
What are they?
Keemy, Ksoo.
What's the Ksoo nickname for?
That's the entertainment name.
The rap name?
Yes, rap name.
Now, prior to getting arrested, who was Abdul Robinson Jr. living with?
With me?
And for about how long had he been living with you?
About 10 years.
And what about Hakeem Robinson? Where was he living?
Well, he was living with me.
In January of 2020, were you, Abdul Robinson Jr., and Hakeem Robinson all living on Brown Jersey Court?
Yes.
Is that in the Ocean Way area?
Yes.
Prior to living in that home, what area of town were y'all living in?
West Side, Norman area.
Normandy? Do you know a person named Leroy Whitaker?
Yes.
Are Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker related to one another?
Yes.
How so?
Cousins.
Okay. And what's the family connection?
Mother and father and mother, brother and sisters.
So is that Leroy Whitaker's father and Hakeem Robinson's mother?
Yes.
Now, over the years, kind of leading up to 2020, did Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker have a close relationship?
Yes.
Does Leroy Whitaker have a nickname?
Yes.
And what is it?
Scotty.
Mr. Robinson, do you see your son Hakeem Robinson in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you tell us where he's seated and what he is wearing?
He sitting between his two lawyers right there with a beige suit on.
The record reflect the witnesses identified Mr. Hakeem Robinson.
Okay, the record shall so reflect.
And do you also see Leroy Whitaker in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you tell us where he's seated and what he's wearing?
He's wearing a gray suit, sitting right next to his lawyer.
Is that which table?
Front table.
The record will reflect.
All right, the record shall so reflect.
You also know someone by the name of Dominique Barner.
Yes.
Is Dominique Barner related to your family?
Nope.
Were you friends with Barner's father?
Yes.
So how long would you say you've known Dominique Barner?
Most all his life.
Does Dominique Barner have a nickname?
Yes.
What is it?
Butter?
And do you know why he has that nickname?
No, I don't know why I have it.
Now, prior to getting arrested, was Dominique Barner friends with Abdul Robinson Jr.?
Yes.
Did he also spend time with Hakeem Robinson?
Yes.
Now, on April 11th of 22, did you enter pleas of guilty to the court in both of your pending cases?
Yes, I did.
And was that plea partially negotiated with the state?
Yes.
Now, as part of your plea, you agreed to cooperate against the co-defendants in both cases?
Yes.
Have you been sentenced yet on either of your charges?
No, I haven't.
Who ultimately will decide what sentence you get?
From my understanding, the judge.
And what judge did you enter a plea of guilty to?
Miss Salvador.
Now, in the Damon Rothermel murder case, where you pled to accessory after the fact, is that right?
Yes.
And based on that plea, when you were sentenced by the judge, did the state agree that we will drop the solicitation to commit murder charge?
Yes.
Is both the accessory after the fact and the solicitation a first-degree felony?
Yes.
So they're both punishable by 30 years?
Yes.
And in the Charles McCormick murder case, you also pled to accessory after the fact, a first-degree felony?
Yes.
All right, and typically first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, as part of your pleas, did the state agree to cap the maximum sentence you could receive to be 20 years?
Yes.
Now, if you are to receive a 20-year sentence from the court, how old would you be approximately at the end of that sentence?
Say that again?
If you were to be sentenced to 20 years by the court, at the end of that sentence, approximately how old would you be?
I'll be close to 70.
And as part of your plea, did you have sentencing guidelines in your case?
Yes.
That represent the lowest sentence the court should sentence you to, absent a legal reason to go below?
Yes.
And what were your guidelines in your case? Do you recall?
76 months to 20 years.
Now, even though cooperation provides a legal basis that allows the court to go below, does the court have to?
No.
Does the court have to follow any recommendation the state makes?
No.
And sitting here, do you have any idea what sentence you're going to get?
Nope.
Are you hoping for the best sentence you can get?
Yes.
Did the state of Florida at any time promise you that we would recommend any specific sentence?
No.
On January 15, 2020, prior to the murder of Charles McCormick, were you aware of what was going to happen to him that day?
No.
Did you participate in any of the planning of the murder of Charles McCormick?
No.
Were you present when Charles McCormick was murdered?
No.
Did you know that was going to happen before it happened?
Nope.
When did you find out Charles McCormick was going to be murdered? Or, excuse me, when did you find out Charles McCormick had been murdered?
After I picked up Sky and Butter.
So that would be Leroy Whitaker and Dominique Barner?
Yes.
You indicated you picked them up. How did you know that they needed a ride on January 15, 2020?
My son called me and asked me to go give Scotty a ride.
Which son?
Kareem.
Abdul Jr.?
Yes.
Do you recall what Abdul Jr.'s phone number was that he communicated with you on that day?
I think it's 904-624. 3684.
3684?
Yeah.
Do you recall what your phone number was back on January 15, 2020?
904 866 2370.
Now, sitting here today, you realize that you are testifying against not only co-defendants, but family members.
Yes.
Why are you doing that?
I have a number of reasons.
And what are they?
I got some health issues. I got 2 6-year-olds and an 8-year-old daughter. And, when my 8-year-old daughter asked me when I'm going to come take her to the daddy-daughter dance.
Objection, hearsay relevance.
Overruled.
You can answer.
When she asked me over each year when I'm going to come take her there, and I keep letting her down. Then my 6-year-old son, when he asked me if I'm going to come to his football games, come take him fishing. My other 6-year-old, he asked me when I'm going to come see him, when he begging me, please come see me, Daddy. He want to teach me how to play the game, but he don't know where I'm at. Things like that. My health issues.
What health issues do you have?
I have diabetic. I'm diabetic. I'm on high blood pressure. I suffer from congestive heart failure. I just found out June 25th that my kidneys is failing rapidly.
Has becoming a witness in this case negatively impacted your relationship with your entire family?
Well, I really don't have no more relationship with my family, besides one person.
So a part of your family completely cut you out?
Yeah.
When people know that you're cooperating, does that make it easier or harder for you when you're incarcerated?
Well, it make it harder for me.
What about when you get out?
Extremely harder.
Is cooperating in this case something that is easy for you to do?
No, this is the most hardest decision I've had to make in my life.
The day that Charles McCormick was murdered, on January 15, 2020, does that specific day hold any significance for you and your family?
Yes.
And why is that date significant in your mind?
It's the date that my son got killed.
Who was your son that got killed?
Willie Addison.
Is he your biological child?
No.
Do you still consider him to be your son?
Yes, I consider him to be my son.
Did Willie Addison have a nickname?
Yes.
What was that?
Lil Willie, Boss Goon.
Who was Willie Addison's mother?
Angie Lundy.
Same as Abdul Jr.?
Yeah.
What was the age difference between Willie and Abdul Jr.?
I think about 2 years.
Before Willie Addison was killed on January 15, 2019, where was he living?
He was living with me.
And what area of town was that?
Normandy, off Normandy.
Who else was living there at the time?
Hakeem, my daughter, and Abdul Jr.
Were Abdul Jr. and Hakeem Robinson close to Willie?
Yes.
How close would they be? Would you consider them?
It was pretty close.
Did they consider one another to, in fact, be brothers?
Yes.
Where was Willie Addison when he was actually shot on January 15, 2019?
He was in the truck with me in the passenger seat.
Were you driving?
Yes.
And so Willie was in the front passenger seat?
Yes.
Was anyone else in the vehicle?
It was like 4 more people in the vehicle.
Who were they?
Abdul Jr., Moody, my nephew, Samuel, and Pooh Red.
Is Pooh Red Torgon Williams?
Yes.
Is Torgon Williams related?
Yes.
How so?
Cousin.
Now, did Torgon and Willie have a decent relationship?
I think they was okay.
Was Torgon Williams close to your son, Abdul Robinson Jr.?
Yes.
How was Torgon's relationship with Hakeem Robinson?
Well, they had a pretty good relationship.
Now, when Willie Addison was shot, was anyone else inside the vehicle hurt as well?
Everybody.
Including you?
Yes.
After everyone was shot, what did you do?
Well, I drove to the hospital, and as I was driving, I could, hear Willie making this guggling noise, and I hold his hand while I was driving, because I didn't want him to feel like he died alone. And I drove to Memorial Hospital, and when we got to the hospital, I got everybody out the car while I was shot and helped everybody get, inside the hospital, because it was like people at the hospital really didn't want to help us.
Where were you shot?
In the back.
Where in the vehicle was Abdul Jr. seated?
In the middle row.
Was he shot?
Yes.
Where was Abdul Jr. shot?
In the head.
Did he almost die?
Yes. I think he did die, but he, came back.
What about your nephew? You said Sammy. Is he hurt?
Yeah.
How was he hurt?
Well, he got shot about 7 times. He's paralyzed right now.
And Torgon was shot?
Yes.
Multiple times?
Yes.
How long did Abdul Jr., since he was shot in the head, how long did he remain in the hospital?
He stayed in the hospital about 3 or 4 months.
After Abdul Jr. got out of the hospital, was he still physically affected by his injuries?
Yes, he had to learn how to, he had to basically learn how to do everything all over again.
Walk again?
Walk again, talk again, everything. He had to go to Brooks therapy.
Did you help Abdul Jr. as he recovered?
Yes, I did.
Was Abdul Jr. Affected mentally by the shooting?
Yes.
How so?
I think it made him more angry. Like, I don't know if bipolar like was be the right word to use, but it made him it changed his mood swing.
Now, Hakeem Robinson was not in the vehicle when the shooting happened, correct?
No.
How was he affected mentally by Abdul Jr. and his family members being hurt?
Objection, speculation, personal knowledge.
Yeah, unless he has personal knowledge, I'll sustain that objection.
Do you have personal knowledge as to how Hakeem Robinson was feeling after this happened?
Yeah.
Is that because he was living with you?
Yes.
How was Hakeem Robinson after this?
I mean, he was angry about it. I mean, we was all angry about it.
To the best of your knowledge, was Charles McCormick involved in the shooting of Willie Addison or anyone else in that vehicle, personally?
Nope.
After Willie Addison was killed, did Charles McCormick put out a song that personally upset you and your family?
Yes.
And what's a diss song or a diss track?
Oh, it's when you talk about somebody, somebody's dead.
Is that what Charles McCormick's song did?
Yes.
And who did it reference that upset you and your family?
He talked about Willie.
How did you find out about that song?
Social media.
Did you personally find it, or did someone point it out to you?
No, my son showed it to me.
Which one?
Both of them.
And that would be?
Kareem and Hakeem.
Abdul Jr. and Hakeem Robinson?
Yes.
Did Abdul Jr. or Hakeem Robinson, either one, talk about the song?
I mean, yeah, they didn't like it.
Are you familiar with a local rap group known as ATK?
Yes.
Do you consider yourself to be a member of ATK?
No.
Is Abdul Robinson Jr. part of ATK?
Yeah.
What about Hakeem Robinson?
Yes.
Leroy Whitaker?
Yes.
Torgon Williams?
Yeah.
And is Dominic Barner affiliated with members of ATK?
Yeah.
Was Charles McCormick part of ATK?
No.
Who was Charles McCormick affiliated with?
6 Block.
All right. Another local rap group here?
Yes.
Did Charles McCormick have a rap name or a nickname that you're aware of?
Yeah.
All right, and what was that?
A little buck.
How would you describe the relationship between the group 6 Block and the group ATK?
They didn't like each other.
Did they get along?
No.
Do they consider one another to be ops?
Yes.
Who do you know that had a desire to go after Charles McCormick based on that song?
I would say a few people.
All right. Anybody related to you or anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who would you think had the most?
The most? I would say Abdul, my son, both of them, Hakeem and Abdul.
In January of 2020, did Abdul Jr. Own his own vehicle?
No.
How did he get around?
Rent a car.
Do you recall if on January 15th of 2020, Abdul Jr. had a rental car?
Yes.
What kind did he have?
A Dodge Journey.
Did both Abdul Jr. and Hakeem Robinson travel in rental cars?
Yes.
Did you own a car on January 15th, 2020?
Yes.
What kind?
Dodge Jones.
What color was it?
Like reddish orange.
And the phone that you had on January 15th, 2020, what type of phone was it?
iPhone.
And I think you said earlier, but 904-866-2370, was that your number?
Yes.
Who was your cell carrier?
T-Mobile.
Was that account under your name, Abdul Robinson Sr.?
No.
What name was it under?
Darryl Watts.
Who was Darryl Watts?
A friend of mine.
Is he deceased?
Yes.
So why was your phone under an account with that name?
Well, we went to get them together. His credit was a little better than mine.
So did you maintain your phone under that account after he passed?
Yes, I was an authorized user.
Did Abdul Robinson Jr. have a cell phone in January of 2020?
Yes.
Did he have just one?
No, he had a couple of phones.
Why do you have a couple phones?
You got, your work phone, your phone for your ladies, or something like that, different phones.
What was Abdul Jr.'s primary number back in January 2020? Was that the 624-3684 you mentioned?
Yes.
Is that the number you typically would communicate with him on?
Yes.
Did he have a second phone number that you helped get it?
Yes.
Do you recall what that number was?
I think the area code was 478-491-2831.
And how do you know that was a number that Abdul Jr. was using?
I got the phone for him.
Was that put up under the Darryl Watts account name?
Yes.
Do you recall when that was done approximately?
I know it was, I think it was like November. In November, I think it's like the November 12th or the 15th.
So sometime in November?
Yes.
Would that be 2019?
Yes.
Did Hakeem Robinson own a cell phone in January of 2020?
Yes.
Did he have just one phone?
No, he had a couple phones.
What type of phones did he have?
iPhone.
And what was Hakeem Robinson's primary number back in January 2020 that you would communicate with him on?
The phone number?
Yes, sir.
904 704, I think, 1595.
And was that phone number under the Darrell Watts account?
No.
What account was that phone number under?
I don't know. I think his mother got that phone for him.
Ms. Walters?
Yes.
Do you recognize phone number 478-305-9583?
Yes.
Whose phone number was that in January 2020?
Hakeem?
Hakeem Robinson's?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
I got it for him.
Was that up under the Darrell Watts account as well?
Yes.
Objection leading on this whole line of questioning.
Well, I'll address the last question, and that's overruled.
Was the 478-305-9583 number you just mentioned, was that activated on the same day as the one you got for Abdul Jr.?
Yes.
And did you at times pay that bill for them?
Yeah.
In January 2020, did Leroy Whitaker have a cell phone?
Yes.
Did you ever communicate with him on his cell phone?
Yes.
Do you recall what his phone number was at the time?
904-803. I think 3671.
Now, turning your attention back specifically to January 15, 2020, did you get asked for help that day?
Yes.
And how did you get asked for help?
Well, I was asked to give somebody a ride, give Scotty a ride.
And who asked you specifically?
Abdul Jr.
And how did he get in touch with you to ask you that?
He called me.
Did he call you one time or more than once, if you recall?
I think he called me more than once.
When you spoke to Abdul Jr., did he tell you why Leroy Whitaker needed a ride?
No.
Do you know what area of town or Leroy Whitaker was in that you needed to go pick him up?
Say that again?
How did you know where to go pick Leroy Whitaker up?
Abdul Jr., he sent me a pin drop, a location.
What area of town did that take you to?
Arlington.
Was it a business area, a residential neighborhood?
Residential area.
When you went to pick Leroy Whitaker up, what were you driving?
Dodge Challenger.
And you had your phone number, the 866-2370 number with you?
Yes.
When you drove that Dodge Challenger over there, is that a car that's actually in your name?
Yes.
Prior to picking Leroy Whitaker up that day, did you ever speak to him on the phone?
Yes.
Did you get any information from him as well?
Yes. I called him, and I think the location thing took me past the location, and I called him, asked him where he was at, and he told me what house he was in. What it was a car in the yard, a certain car. I can't remember what the car was though.
Do you recall what the name of the road was where you actually went?
Townsend.
When you were driving on Townsend, did you see any police in the area?
Yes, I seen one police.
Where was that?
Say that again?
Where was that? Where did you see the police?
It was about a block or two from where I picked him up from.
Now, when you got to the correct location, what did you do?
Well, I pulled in the yard and I called Scotty, asked him, where they was at.
Now, you said you pulled into the yard. What was at that location?
Hmm?
Was that a home?
Yes, it was to the house.
Did you recognize that home?
No.
Did you have any idea who was living there?
No, I didn't.
Did Leroy Whitaker come out immediately?
No.
As you waited, did you reach out to anyone?
I reached out to Scotty. And, you know, I got a little impatient. And I just asked him, like, where he at when he coming. He told me they was coming.
Did you reach out to anybody else?
Yes, I called my son, Abdul.
What was the purpose of contacting your son, Abdul Jr.?
I just wanted to know where they was at, what was taking so long.
Do you recall if that was a phone call or a communication by message? Do you have any idea? I know it was 5 years ago.
I can't quite remember.
Eventually, did Leroy Whitaker come out of the home?
Yes.
Was he by himself?
Nope.
Who was with him?
Butter.
And when Leroy Whitaker and Butter, Dominique Varner?
Yes.
When they both came out, how were they acting? How were they walking?
I mean, I would say a little urgent.
Do you recall what either one of them was wearing?
Yes, they had on some pajamas.
Do you remember any details about the pajamas?
Some Mountain Dew pajamas.
Did that look like clothes that you typically would see Leroy Whitaker or Dominique Varner in?
No.
Once they came out, did you let them into your car?
Say that again?
Did you let them both into your vehicle?
Yes.
After they got in, what direction did you drive towards?
Towards Arlington Expressway.
And were there still police in the area?
Well, I only seen that one.
Now, as you were driving away, did you ask them or were you concerned about anybody in particular?
Yes.
Who?
Hakeem.
And why were you concerned for Hakeem?
I know that's his circle of friends.
Was it unusual in your mind for him not to be with them at that point?
Yeah.
Now, as you were driving Leroy Whitaker and Dominique Varner away, did you find out what had happened to Charles McCormick?
Yes.
And you found out the details about who was involved?
Yes.
And did you continue to drive both Leroy Whitaker and Dominique Varner away?
Yes.
And after getting away from that neighborhood, did you make a stop?
Yes.
And where did you stop?
We stopped in Grand Park.
And what was the reason of stopping in that area?
Switch cars.
And were you able to do that?
Yes.
What car did you switch out of?
We got in a white Impala.
Who did the white Impala belong to?
It was my daughter's car, but it was in my name.
Why did you want to switch out of your Dodge Challenger?
After I found out what happened, we in an orange car, very noticeable.
Did you eventually make it back to your home?
Yes.
And again, that's on Brown Jersey Court?
Yes.
Do you recall around what time of day it was that you made it back to that location, approximately?
I can't say the exact time. It's like I can't say the exact time, maybe like 2:30 something up,
In the afternoon?
Yes.
After you got back to your home, did you do anything else to assist either Leroy Whitaker or Dominique Varner?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, I took the clothes they had on and left with them.
Where'd you go?
I went over there off Kings Road behind Burger King, put them in this fire barrel.
Did you set them on fire?
Yes.
And why were you doing that?
It was just my way to help.
Did you take either Leroy Whitaker or Dominique Varner with you when you did that?
No.
Do you recall if anyone else was at your home prior to you leaving to set those clothes on fire?
No.
No, there weren't, or no, you don't recall?
No, I don't recall nobody, though.
Did you return to Brown Jersey Court that night?
I can't remember.
Are you familiar with an address, 2203 West 12th Street?
Yes.
And why are you familiar with that specific address?
I mean, that's been my address. That's my grandma's address.
Has that house been or stayed in the Robinson family?
Yes.
Are you also familiar with the name House of Pain?
Yes.
Who came up with that name?
I did.
When was that?
It's back in the 90s.
What did you want to use the House of Pain name for?
Entertainment.
Is that a name that is still kind of used by the Robinsons?
Yeah.
Your family? Was Hakeem Robinson aware of that name, House of Pain?
Yeah.
Did Hakeem Robinson have an Instagram account that he was using back in January of 2020?
Yes.
Do you recall what his Instagram account name was?
It was Ksoo 23 times.
What about Abdul Jr.? Did he have an Instagram account?
Yes.
What was that?
K Crazy.
Do you know someone by the name of Shifan Hogan?
Yes.
Who is he?
That's my baby mother's brother.
Are you also aware of a music video called Bang It Out?
Yes.
And whose music video was that?
Hakeem.
Do you know where that was filmed?
Yes.
Where?
Downtown by the Chart House.
Were you there when it was filmed?
Yes.
Was it filmed prior to Charles McCormick's murder?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I publish some items that are already in evidence?
Okay.
Showing you what's in evidence is State's Exhibit 191 on the monitor in front of you. Do you see that? Should be on the monitor right here.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that vehicle?
Yes.
Is that your red Dodge Challenger that you were driving on January 15, 2020?
Yes.
This is State's 193.
They call me Ksoo.
Sir, in that video, the two firearms that Hakeem Robinson was holding, do you recognize those?
Yes.
Whose firearms who do they belong to?
Ksoo.
Were they real firearms?
Yes.
Did he typically use fake guns in his music video like that?
No.
After the murder of Charles McCormick on January 15, 2020, did you ever see Hakeem with that black AR-style rifle pistol again?
No.
Are you aware of a dash cam video that recorded the murder of Charles McCormick in this case?
Yes.
And have you seen that video?
Yes.
And the person captured...
Objection, sidebar.
All right, let me see counsel and court reporter at sidebar.
Please, court.
Assuming, is the court reporter ready? Yes, you may continue.
Mr. Robin, just a couple of background questions first. Leading up to January 15th, 2020, Akeem Robinson was living with you.
Yes.
And so you would see him on a daily basis?
Yes.
And as you have testified to, he's your biological son.
Yes.
And did you also see him after January 15, 2020?
Yes.
And when he was living with you in your home, did you become familiar with some of the clothing that he owned?
Yes.
See the types of clothing that he would wear?
Yes.
See him as he...
Okay, if you'll rephrase your questions.
Did you ever see him walking about the house?
Yes.
Did you see him in music videos?
Yes.
Right. Are you familiar with the way he moves?
Yes.
Are you familiar with, or 5 years ago, were you familiar with the way his build was, his physical characteristics?
Yes.
And after January 15, 2020, you became aware of a video recording that captured the murder of Charles McCormick. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've had an opportunity during the pendency of your case and the discovery to see that recording.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Did you, when you viewed that recording, recognize the person depicted in it?
Yes.
Who is the person that was captured on the video recording shooting Charles McCormick?
My son.
What's your son's name?
Hakeem.
After the murder of Charles McCormick, did you become aware of a post on Hakeem Robinson's Instagram account referencing something that happened?
Yes.
And was that posted from a nail salon?
Yes.
And after seeing that post, did you reach out to Hakeem Robinson, your son?
Yes.
And what did you want him to do?
I want him to remove the post.
Are you aware of any other posts Hakeem Robinson made to his social media around that time that concerned you?
Yes.
What was that?
It was another post of dude Lil Buck.
What did you see?
It was just the emojis on the bottom of it that said bye bye bye.
Say it again.
It was the emojis, the hand emojis saying bye bye.
States 227. That the nail salon post that you reached out to him about? And by him, I mean Hakeem Robinson?
Yes.
Showing what's in evidence as... One moment, I'm sorry, Judge, it's not on here. I believe it's States 240, a composite. Do you recognize that poster?
Yes.
Who is that in the post?
Willie.
Billy Addison?
Yes.
And whose Instagram account is that?
Hakeem.
I'm showing you States 229. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And whose marker is there that at the bottom of the photograph?
Willie.
Who's surrounding it?
Hakeem, Pooh Red, and Kareem.
It's Pooh Red again. Is that Torgon Williams there in the middle?
Yes.
State 241. Who is that?
Kareem.
Abdul Jr.?
Yes.
And Stage 240, showing you what's in evidence as a photograph that was sent, appears to be from phone number 904-866-2370. That was your phone number?
Yes.
To 478-305-9583. Do you recognize the photo that was attached to that message?
Yes.
Who is that?
That's me.
And who were you sending that to?
The son of Hakeem and Kareem.
So you sent it to both Hakeem and Abdul Jr.?
Yes.
Was that to both 478 area code numbers that they had?
Yes.
And why were you sending that to them?
I really don't know. I really think I was just showing off my outfit, to be honest.
though some people may not believe it, even though you sat here and testified here today, do you still love your family?
Objection and relevance.
Overruled.
Yes.
Is this easy for you to do?
No, this is the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life.
Judge, I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Cross-exam from Mr. Whitaker?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court?
Yes.
You love your family, Mr. Robinson. That's what we just heard, right?
Yes.
I guess you love yourself. Right? Yes or no, sir?
Of course. Self-love first, right?
Over your children.
That's the law of nature. Love yourself first.
Okay. You're cooperating in this case, correct, sir?
Correct.
This is not your first cooperation, is it?
No,
You've somewhat made a career out of it, have you not?
I wouldn't say career.
Well, you first testified against an officer, Officer Eric Sinclair, back in
Overruled.
1999, right?
Did I do what?
You testified against Officer Eric Sinclair back in 1999.
No, I didn't.
You came forward with information.
Yeah.
The officer evidently didn't take it to trial, correct?
Correct.
But your cooperation, your testifying to the federal government caused him to enter a plea, right?
I'm not going to agree with that.
Okay. Well, what you probably will agree with is that your sentence was dramatically reduced, right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it true that before you talked to the federal government, what you were facing back in 1999, you could have gotten up to life imprisonment, correct?
Yes.
And it was reduced to 10 years, right?
Nope.
Substantial reduction?
My time was reduced to 22 years.
How much did you serve?
About 10 years and 3 months, 4 months.
Okay. So from life to an ultimate actual serving sentence of about 10 years.
Yes, well, it was a law change, and that's how my time got reduced again.
Well, and your cooperation, sir.
Yeah.
Right? So pretty good deal you made for yourself.
Yeah.
You've also worked as a confidential informant for police, haven't you?
Yep.
And you're cooperating in this particular case because it will help you, right?
Right.
Okay. And you were arrested, I think you told us roughly September of 2020.
September 10th, 2020.
September 10th, it sounds like you remember the exact day,
Yes.
right, sir? I imagine that was an important day to you, correct?
I ain't gonna say important.
Well, it did cause you to be incarcerated, sir, right?
Right.
Where you've remained, correct?
Right.
And that was for your involvement in the McCormick homicide, right?
Yes.
When did they hit you with the Rothermel homicide?
2021.
Okay, so in 2020, you're facing an accessory after the fact charge for your involvement in the death of Charles McCormick, right?
Right.
And when they brought you in, you've agreed to cooperate, right?
Right.
But that didn't happen until 2022, correct?
Right.
That would have been after they put the second homicide on you, right?
Right.
Now, in the Rothermel homicide, you're aware that Dominique Varner originally was going to testify against you, right?
Right.
And your involvement in what you pled guilty to as accessory after the fact in the Rothermel killing was that you admit you gave money to Dominique Varner after knowing he had just been involved in this shooting and needed to get out of town.
Yes.
And you're willing to admit that, correct?
Yes.
You do not admit, you do not agree with Mr. Barner's claim that you provided a gun and a car to accomplish that drive-by shooting.
Right.
Okay? You don't agree with that,
No.
right?
No.
Because based on your knowledge, sir, you understand that if you and I plan to do a crime together, whatever crime, we're both considered principals, right?
Yes.
And so you can stay at home. But if you and I agree to do a crime and I do everything, but you help me, you support me, you do something, say some word that actually inspires me, that encourages me to commit the crime, you can be punished as if you did everything I did, right?
Right.
But you weren't charged as a principal in the Rothermel killing, were you?
No.
And so you were left with solicitation for murder. I guess you were originally arrested for that charge, right?
Yes.
And essentially, you understood that that charge, they were accusing you of trying to entice the murder to happen, right?
Right.
But they dropped that charge pursuant to your plea agreement, right?
Well, I think it's going to be dropped.
I'm sorry?
I think it's going to be dropped.
Okay. You just know you haven't entered a plea to it, sir, right?
Right.
That was not part of your plea agreement for you to enter a plea of guilty to solicitation for murder, correct?
Right.
Only accessory, right?
Yes.
And accessory after the fact, you understand, and you understood before you entered your plea agreement, that that's punishable by up to 30 years.
Yes. Yes.
And so when you have two of them, that means that you could be sentenced up to 60 years, correct?
Correct.
But in 2022, when you agreed to come forward and cooperate, they cut your exposure by 2/3, right?
Yes.
I mean, I've never been super great at math, but 30 plus 30 is 60, right?
Right.
And your plea agreement for the death of 2 human beings calls for a maximum of 20 years, right?
Right.
And your actual guidelines are only about 7 years, right?
Right.
And I think you told us that that was based on your age, your health issues, and you want to be there for your younger kids, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me? You weren't there for your older kids.
That's why I know better this time.
Okay. You did grow up with quite a bit of respect on the streets, sir, didn't you?
Yep.
And you personally never met Charles McCormick,
Nope.
but you did know who he was, correct?
Yes.
And you knew in spring of 2019 that he had put out this rap song, correct?
Yes.
And you, as you've told us, you were physically in the car when Willie Addison was killed, correct?
Yes.
And your son, Abdul Jr., was in that car, correct, sir?
Yes.
And Torrigan Williams was in that car, correct, sir?
Yes.
And all of you got shot, correct?
Yes.
And you explained there was somebody else there that was actually also shot and paralyzed as a result, right?
Yes.
And who was that again?
My nephew,
Okay, and what's his name, sir?
Samuel Cooper.
Samuel what?
Cooper.
Cooper.
Yes.
Samuel Cooper.
Yes.
Also shot with Willie Addison, with you all, and is now paralyzed.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned somebody named Moody.
Yes.
Do you know Moody's full name?
I think it's Antonio McLaurin or something like that.
Antonio McLaurin.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Were you aware that Antonio McLaurin wore a whiter on Mr. Barner?
Yes. Do we need to speak sidebar about that? Okay. Let me see court reporter and counsel at sidebar.
I heard objection. I just didn't hear anything after that.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so I'm sorry, you told us another person that was in the car with you all when Willie Addison was killed and you all were shot was a person with the nickname, I'm sorry, give it to us one more time.
Moody.
Moody. And you believe Moody's full formal name is Antonio McLaren?
Yes.
Okay. And my question to you was, were you aware that Antonio McLaren wore a confidential wire on Dominique Barner?
Yes.
In jail. You were?
Yes.
Okay. It's fair to say that you were vengeful after that shooting, is it not, sir?
Yes.
And that is, in fact, is why you were willing to be involved in what would become the attempted murder of someone named P. Money, and that resulted in the Rothermill killing.
Yes.
Because P. Money, and do you happen to know his formal name?
No, I don't know his full name.
Okay. But you know who I'm talking about when I say P. Money,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
He was a target for you, correct?
Yes.
Because you did believe he was responsible for not only killing your son, Willie Addison, but hurting everybody else, correct? Including yourself.
Yes.
You were not personally there during the actual shooting of what ended up being the death of Mr. Rothermel and the attempt on P-Money, correct?
Correct.
But you have pled guilty to accessory after the fact for that death.
Yes.
And you have admitted to providing Varner with money in order to get out of town, correct?
Yes.
Now, we've heard you kind of explain that on January 15th, you end up driving your Dodge Challenger, correct?
Yes.
Over to the Townsend Road area?
Yes.
And you claim that you then picked up Dominic Varner and Leroy Whitaker, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I apologize for skipping around a little bit, but I just realized something I almost forgot to ask you about. How long have you known Leroy Whitaker?
I've known him for probably about a little bit more than 5 years, probably now.
A little bit more than 5 years, sir?
Yeah, probably now.
Okay. And you were born in 71 or 70?
70.
In 1970, which makes you about 55 now, sir?
Yeah, I'll be 55 this year.
Okay. Now, back in 2020, I think you've already told us your son, Abdul Jr., was 25? That sound right?
It might be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you told us, I mean, we can, if we have to, we can do the math.
Yeah,
Not
do
very
the
good
math.
at the math, but we can certainly do it. What year was Abdul Jr. born?
94.
Okay. So that would appear to make him 26, if my math is correct. Does that sound right?
26 now?
If you subtract, what month? 2020.
November.
Okay, so we'd use 2019, so that'd make him 25 at the time of the death of Mr. McCormick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That sound about right, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that there's a 4-year age difference between the two sons, between Abdul Jr. and Hakeem Robinson, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if depending on the birthdays, and again, we're talking November, so if there's 4 years, then Hakeem Robinson was 21 years old, right?
Yes.
When was Willie Addison born? What year was he born?
I think 93. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
1993, which would make him 26.
At 2020, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And in 2019, when he was killed, he would have been 25.
Yeah.
Okay. Leroy Whitaker is substantially younger than all of them, correct?
Yeah.
And you always knew that from the little time that you did spend with him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Willie and Leroy Whitaker had no relationship whatsoever, right?
Not that I know of.
And Leroy Whitaker does not rap that you're aware of, correct?
Oh, no.
And with all of your testimony, though, you have not heard Leroy Whitaker specifically ever make any kind of statement that he wanted Charles McCormick dead, correct?
Correct.
And you have never heard Leroy Whitaker ever say anything to suggest he knew anyone was going to get out of a car and shoot Charles McCormick, correct?
Repeat that question.
You never heard Leroy Whitaker say anything that he would have any knowledge that anyone was going to get out and shoot Charles McCormick.
No, I haven't.
And sir, have you ever been convicted of a felony or a crime of dishonesty?
No. You said a crime of dishonesty?
And I'm sorry, let me make it easier.
Yeah.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony, sir?
Yes.
How many times?
2.
Okay. Cross for Mr. Robinson.
Your community, up until this point, seated right there, right?
Say it again?
Your community, your family, those people that know you best in this world are in this courtroom right now, right?
I don't think so.
You don't see family sitting there?
Nope.
You don't see Hakeem's mother sitting there?
Oh, yeah, I see her.
Now, of course, she knows you, right?
Yeah, she know me.
A moment ago, you said that you are a two-time convicted felon. And let's jump into the first time. In the year of 2000, you were sentenced to 262 months in federal court, correct?
Yes.
Hakeem was an infant at that time, right?
Yes.
You go away for roughly 10 years.
Right.
Now, you said a moment ago that, well, that you disagreed about cooperation. You got what's called, the government filed a 5K, right?
Yes.
And a 5K specifically is when somebody has provided substantial assistance in the investigation or prosecution of others. You agree with that?
Yes.
But you disagree that you got a reduction because of cooperation?
No, I don't think I disagree with that. She said testifying.
All right. You snitched on other people, you got a reduction, right?
Yeah.
All right. So years later, this case comes along. You get charged in the McCormick case. You get charged in the Rothermill case. And you initially plead not guilty, correct?
Right.
You fight the McCormick case for a period of time, right?
Right.
You have your attorney involved in depositions knowing the facts of the case, correct?
Yes.
And then your attorney comes to you and says, they're threatening to charge you as a principal.
Objection, Judge.
And the grounds?
Privileged communications.
Okay.
For him to waive, Your Honor, not the government to say.
Okay. Well, then I'll leave it to Mr. Abdul Robinson Sr.
There was a point in time when these two murder cases are pending that you learn that the government is now trying to leverage you, threatening you with charging you as a principal in the Rothermill case, right?
Yes.
And that would have meant a life minimum mandatory for you, right?
Yes.
So, you agree, you cave, and astonishingly, for the second time, why is it that you only grow a conscience when you're looking at hefty prison terms?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained. Just ask a question, Mr. DeCoste, without commentary.
Previous case, you were looking at life, you cooperated to get out of it, right?
Yes.
Once again, you're looking at life, and you decide to cooperate to get out of it, right?
Right.
Now, you're hoping that the recommendation is going to be that you serve, for all of your crimes, only 76 months, right?
I mean, yes.
All right. That's what you have in writing with the government, right?
Yes.
And you've served a majority of that time already.
Right.
So that means that within a short couple of months, maybe 12, you're going to be back walking the streets of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That was the price of your testimony. Right?
Right.
You had to cooperate and implicate your two sons, but it got you out of custody.
You say implicate them?
You had to point at your sons. Let's back up for a second. At the point in time that they leverage you with life on the Rothermill case, they had already arrested your son and said that he was the one that committed it, right?
Oh, no, you confusing me.
Okay. Let's break it down. You said a moment ago that the government sent message to you that they were going to basically indict you on the Rothermill case and that you were potentially looking at life. You then decided to cooperate. You remember that, right?
Right.
Okay. They had already, on this case, through the evidence, through the depositions that your attorney was at, they already believed that Hakeem was a shooter, right?
Right.
All right. So it wasn't something that you came forward and like, hey guys, let me help you understand the case. You just agreed to their narrative.
No, I didn't agree to their narrative. They asked me what the conversation was when I picked them up.
Okay, let's move on here. So, at that point, though, they had already pointed the finger at Hakeem, right?
Right.
All right. So you just continued with their case. I'm going to point at Hakeem. He was a shooter. Right?
I can't agree with that.
You also pointed out your other son, Abdul, the one that shares your name, Abdul Kareem Robinson Jr., right?
Right.
Before you decided to cooperate, you had also reviewed all of the phone records in this case, correct?
Yes.
So you had knowledge of what the government believed was happening in the case?
Yes.
Now, let's talk about Dominique Barner. Your words, he's a reliable hitman, right?
Yes.
For you to know that he's a reliable hitman, you must have used him as a hitman before, right?
No.
And how do you know he's a reliable hitman? Can't be the Rothermill case because they didn't kill P. Money. So how is it that you know that he is a reliable hitman?
I mean, you hear things when you're in the streets.
And that's where you live. Not physically on the streets, but you are a street guy, right?
I have been one.
All right. And the marks of that are on you. You have bullet holes, right?
Yes.
You have tattoos, right?
Yes.
Keem has neither.
Right.
Not a single tattoo on his body. Right?
Right.
Never been shot.
That's good.
Now, let's get back to Barner, your reliable hitman. In the Rothermill case, it's Blue. That's you, right?
Yes.
Now, you also go by OG, too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's Blue, Butter, right? Dominique Barner.
Yeah.
And Chris Brown, right?
Yes.
That's the trio. Blue, Butter, Brown. In the Rothermill case, right? Right?
Yeah.
Now, Chris Brown, his nickname is Crazy Chris.
Right.
You know Chris Brown, obviously.
Yes.
State? All right. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Robinson. I'm showing you it's been pre-marked. It's defense 1. You know what that is, right?
Yes.
That's a picture of Chris Brown.
Right.
And you know that's a picture of Chris Brown because you committed crimes with him.
No.
You're denying that you committed crimes with him on the Rothermill case?
Yes, I'm denying.
Okay, just a moment. When there's an objection, I have to rule. What's the objection?
I withdraw it based on the way it was then phrased.
Okay. Go ahead. Ask the question.
Chris Brown is a co-defendant on the Rothermill case, right?
Right.
And you pled guilty on that case?
Yes.
All right. Now, this photo fairly and accurately depicts what Chris Brown looked like in January of 2020.
Yes.
Defense offers which were pre-marked as defense 1.
Okay, so any objection from the state? Any objection from Mr. Whitaker? Okay, then defense exhibit will be marked into evidence as Defendant Robinson's number 1.
That's Chris Brown, right? Can you see the monitor?
His monitor is not on.
Published all. Mike taught me better.
Well, it's off everywhere now.
There we go. Now, there we go. It takes a minute.
Okay.
That's Chris Brown, right?
Yes.
Butter pecan skin. Right?
Yes.
Not Hakeem.
No.
Dreads down to his chin, right?
No.
He's got dreads, no?
Yes.
Some of that hair goes down to his chin.
Some of the hair on his chin?
Down to his chin.
Yeah, he got here on his chin.
All right. Now, Chris Brown's right around 6 feet, maybe a little bit under.
He
Right?
might, yeah, he might be about 6 feet, a little bit on.
He's a skinny guy too, right?
Yes.
He's also best friends with Butter.
Yes.
Crazy Chris Brown, and Butter Dominique Barner. Right?
Right.
Now, Dominique Barner, he lives that life too, right? He's got wounds, he's got tattoos.
Yes.
He doesn't have a future in the entertainment industry.
No.
None of them do.
No.
Now, let's talk about work. Been out of custody since, roughly 2009, July 2009, you get out of custody on that federal case.
Yes.
In your life, you have never filed taxes, right?
No.
Judge relevant.
Yes. Sustained.
Never received a paycheck from a legitimate job.
Yes.
Now, the House of Pain, your Instagram handle is HOP-CEO, right?
Right.
That stands for House of Pain CEO.
Yes.
That's yours from back in the 90s, right?
Right.
When House of Pain, that's my era, when House of Pain was big. Right?
Right.
That's not Hakeem's era.
No.
Now, you had shirts that were put together, right?
Yes.
You even have like drawings where you tried to draw out the crest for House of Pain.
Yes.
And you were hoping to build that into something legitimate, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Legitimate. The emblem, correct me if I'm wrong, is an axe on the right side, right?
The what?
Do you remember the logo that you drew?
No.
To refresh your recollection, take a look at what you drew.
Yeah.
Brief moment, Your Honor. Take a look at that. You know if that refreshes your recollection.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the House of Pain logo that you created, it's got a house with bullet holes in it, right?
Yeah.
Below that, stacks of money, right?
Right.
A microphone.
Under relevance.
Yeah, how is this relevant?
Your Honor, do you want me to go sidebar and explain?
No. I'm going to sustain.
Okay. The House of Pain email that the government has talked so much about today, that's also yours, right?
No.
So, House of Pain and everything about it is yours except the email address.
Yeah, I can't remember making no email address for House of Pain.
When the police searched your house in the U-Haul truck that was out there, they found T-shirts for House of Pain. They found other swag that you had made and these drawings for House of Pain, right?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
And again, your Instagram handle is HOP-CEO.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's talk about Hakeem Robinson. Hakeem is 6'2", 6'3", your words?
Yes.
Well over 200 pounds?
Yeah.
230, 240?
About 230.
In 2019, an opportunity came his way, right?
Yeah.
He was close friends with another rapper by the name of Young and Ace, right?
Correct.
He's known Ace for a long time.
Correct.
Ace has gotten hugely big over the years, right?
Correct.
Now, at the time, Ace was signed by Cinematic, right?
Correct.
And at that time, Hakeem was lucky enough to get connected with Johnny Shipes, right?
Correct.
Now, this is the same guy that found Nipsey Hussle in California, right?
Correct.
Joey Badass, right?
Yeah.
T-Pain.
Yep.
So this wasn't a small deal. This wasn't Charles McCormick's song that's out there. He had a legitimate record deal.
Right.
Now, we know from Charles McCormick that people in this diss rap and this drill rap, they will rap about things that they weren't involved in, right?
Correct.
Because you said Charles McCormick was not involved in this.
Correct.
Now, you also agree that drill rap, the type rap like the video, Bang It Out, that sells, right?
Yes.
And I asked you, and I think I asked you, and it was a couple years back, sells a lot better than happy rap, like Will Smith rap.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you had hopes prior to manage Ace, right?
Yes.
But he didn't take you along.
No, he already had a manager.
And then your son gets signed in 2019, right?
Right.
He's off in California shooting a music video in December, right?
I can't remember.
He didn't bring you along either.
That ain't true, man. That's not true.
He did not agree to let you manage his career. Or is your testimony that he did? He wanted you to manage it.
Of course.
Of course not. He didn't want you to manage it.
Of course, he did.
Yet you weren't with him on any of those trips, right?
I was with him on a lot of trips.
You have no credits on any of his songs?
No, I don't want no credits on his song.
And Johnny Shipes is the one that is in the records as his manager. Right?
I would assume.
So let's now talk about the day before the murder. That white car that you already let us know, you drove that white car over to the JSO property facility, right?
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
Now let's talk about the motive of others. Your testimony is that Hakeem Robinson, who was not shot, who is not biologically tied to Willie Addison like you, that somehow he had more motive than the other people that were actually shot. Right?
Say that again.
We're talking about the people that would have had a motive to be upset at Charles McCormick. Okay?
Right.
You, Butter, and Brown, Blue, Butter, Brown, I'm going to trip over that if I say it fast. The whole thing about P Money was because you believe that he was behind Willie's murder, right?
Right.
Okay. So now Charles McCormick comes along and he's putting out a song. He's not signed to a record deal, right?
Right.
His song isn't getting any traction.
Right.
He's nowhere near the level of Ksoo, Hakeem Robinson, right?
Correct.
But your testimony is that was a motive enough for murder. That's your testimony, right?
It's this song?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's a whole list of people that would be way above him to have the motive to kill Charles McCormick, right?
Right.
You?
Nah.
No?
Nah.
You'd have no motive to kill a guy who's basically laughing about the night that you were shot.
I mean, not me. Sure ain't killing pro se myself.
Look, all I know is this. I'll put this in a question. You claim that the phone that's used by the shooter, that's registered in your name, right? Oh, excuse me, Darrell Watts. Right?
Right.
And we'll get to that. You allegedly burned the clothes that Butter had on him, right?
Correct.
You break through the police perimeter to pick up Leroy Whitaker and Barner, right?
Come on, man. You exaggerating, man. You know it wasn't no police perimeter, none of that. You exaggerating now.
I'm exaggerating that there wasn't drones and helicopters overhead
How would I know that?
because you were driving to the location?
And I would see a drone in the air?
So we'll agree. All right, let's say that we'll let JSO answer the question whether they had a perimeter and they had hundreds of officers trying to find the shooter that was running through neighborhoods.
You really think I would have went through there if I seen all those police and all that? Or a drone and a helicopter and all that? You think I would have went up in there with my car registered in my name?
You don't want me to answer that question. So why don't you stick to answering my questions and not asking me them? It's a life you live, right? You live this life in the streets, right?
Nah.
Or wait, are you telling me that you as the patriarch of the family, that basically these kids come by and say, hey, Blue, go do this?
They didn't call Leroy Whitaker daddy to go get it. They called me. They did. What if they would have called I would like to see how they would feel if they would have called somebody else to go pick somebody up. They didn't. They called me. If I would have knew something was going on, I wouldn't have never went.
All right.
Think I'm gonna go over there in my car with my phone and knowing something going on? I would like to been. If I would like to been involved in a crime, I'd like to know that I'm involved in a crime. Let me know that okay, it's a crime happening now. Let me know something. I was in the blind.
So you're a victim in this case, right?
I ain't gonna say I'm a victim, but I would like to know that I'm being involved in something and just ask for a ride.
All right, so then after you know about it, you're then cool with going to burn clothes, right?
Yeah, after I get to know about it, I was cool with that.
Yeah, what's a little bit of a felony? Destruction of evidence.
Yeah, I did it. I like Scotty. I did.
Definitely know you didn't call 911.
Right.
That conscience only grew later when you were looking at life.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about Darrell Watts. There's a bunch of cell phones that are in the name of Darrell Watts, right?
Correct.
And the phone that was used, now, it's interesting, the government, they asked you about a bunch of phone numbers, and you remembered it off the top of your head, right?
Yeah.
But the one that they had to tell you was 478-305-9583.
Objection, Judge.
What's the grounds?
The misstatement.
Okay. I will, of course, the jury will recall the testimony that came out from the witness stand, if you'll just ask the question of the witness.
You were asked about a bunch of phone numbers, and you were able to recite them, except for one that they told you, and you just agreed, yes. You remember that, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's 478-305-9583, right?
Right.
Now, that phone's under your dead friend's name, Darrell Watts, right?
Right.
You paid for that phone, right?
Correct.
And in December, you paid something like $1,000 that you owed on that phone and others.
Right.
So whoever it is that had that phone, the shooter, you supplied it to him.
Oh, I didn't know the shooter had the phone. I didn't know. I mean.
So, Darrell Watts was your best friend, right?
Yeah.
He was murdered.
Yeah.
To this day, you are not cleared as a suspect in that case.
Sustained. Mr. DeCoste, just ask questions, please, that are relevant.
An arrest has not been made in the murder of Darrell Watts.
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
Now, you've also learned that Torgon Williams was involved in the murder of Charles McCormick, right?
He was involved?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You don't know that?
No.
You were a co-defendant for a while. Your attorney's going to depositions. You don't know the other people that were implicated?
No.
Chris Brown?
In Charles' case?
Yes.
No, I never seen that. No, I don't know that.
Janera Smith?
No.
But none of them have been charged.
Right.
Now let's focus on the specific day of January 15th, 2020. Your words, you didn't see Hakeem that entire day.
Correct.
Didn't see him before, right?
Right.
Didn't see him after.
Correct.
Now, you said that you were worried about him, right?
Correct.
Well, you have all these phone numbers that you have memorized. You didn't call any of them.
Correct.
But you were concerned?
Yes.
Common sense dictates that if you're concerned about your son, and that what you're saying is actually true, that you would have picked up the phone and called him. But you didn't do that.
Correct. I didn't.
Chifton Hogan. First time we've ever heard it's somebody you're related to.
I'm not related to him.
Okay, but it's somebody that's a couple degrees of separation, that's tied to the family, right?
He's my baby, mother, brother.
And you know from this case that he was never charged, right?
Correct.
Yet his DNA is inside of the car. Right?
Oh, I guess.
I'm not asking you to guess. I'm saying, do you know about the evidence in the case to which you pled to?
Some of it.
All right. Are you aware that Chifton Hogan's DNA is found inside of the car?
Yeah.
So you are sure now?
Yeah.
That would stand for the proposition that DNA can end up inside of a car without somebody ever being in it, right?
I'm not sure.
All right. So, your other son, Abdul Jr., he's not here anymore, right?
Correct.
Your hope, something that has been discussed, you're hoping that in exchange for your testimony here today, that his case would be dropped. Right?
No.
You're not hoping for that?
I mean, if it do, it's good. I mean, but I can't say that.
So you're saying that that's not true, or you're saying it's not, or you're saying you do want your other son to be convicted?
No, I'm not saying I want him to be convicted. I'm not saying that I want him to be convicted. If they drop his case because of what I'm doing, great.
As long as you're protected, that's the most important thing for you, though.
When you say protected, what you mean?
The same thing that Ms. Schlax asked you. You said, well, you know, if they drop his, well, that would be great. But your number one priority out of all of this is you.
I think I'm number 2.
Sir, you come in here as a 2-time convicted felon. Because of these other cases, you'll be convicted at least 2 more times, right?
Right. Correct.
A lifetime of crime, right?
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
You'll be a 4-time convicted felon. You've already spent 10 years in prison and approximately 5 in custody on this.
Correct.
For a total of about 15 years in custody.
Correct. Let's not forget about the 10 years that I was out free and no trouble.
But then you got into trouble again.
Right. I was out free from 2009 to 2020, no trouble.
I understand, but coming in here today and going back to the question, your number one objective is protecting yourself.
Of course.
One brief moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson, one more thing. The deal with Cinematic, that occurred right in the months before this murder, right?
Yes.
Basically, right around December, they fly him out to California. He's shooting music videos, but it's right around that time that he inked that deal.
I'm not sure. I don't remember him going out to California, so I can't say.
But you can say that that deal was inked right around that time.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any redirect?
A little bit, Judge.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yeah.
that 478-305-9583 number that you were asked about, that was under Darrell Watt's name.
Yes.
Did you give that number to Chris Brown?
No.
You didn't let him use it?
No.
Sure.
Positive.
Now, on I'm going to show you what's in evidence. It states 187. Is that on your screen?
Yeah.
Objection outside of the scope of the cross.
I don't have a question.
Judge, I'm going to ask about Chris Brown.
Okay, then that's permissible. So objection overruled.
Is that Chris Brown? That was shooting?
No.
What?
So Hakeem.
And you indicated a few moments ago that Hakeem's approximately 6'2". Have you ever measured him, or are you just going off what you believe?
No, I never measured.
As he sits here today, does Hakeem Robinson look the same as he did 5 years ago?
No.
Overruled.
What's that?
Does he look different today, Hakeem Robinson, than he did 5 years ago? Has his build changed in any way?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he look a little grown, like, you know.
So he was smaller 5 years ago?
Objection, leaving to strike.
Okay, sustained. Just rephrase your question.
Sure. You said bigger today?
Yes.
Objection, leaving to strike.
Okay. There's no evidence to strike, so I'm not striking. It's because the attorney's questions are not evidence. Anybody's attorney's questions are not evidence, but rephrase your question without leading.
Judge, sorry, Mr. Robinson, I didn't hear your answer. When I asked you, how does he look different today, what was your response?
He look like he grown, gained a little weight.
Now, you were asked a lot of questions about the deal that Hakeem Robinson signed with Cinematic. You remember that?
Yes.
And some questions about him going to California to film a music video.
Yes.
But the Hanging Out video was filmed right here in Jacksonville, right?
Yes.
You were there for that?
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with Robinson Management, LLC?
Who?
Robinson Management, LLC. Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
Were you involved with Hakeem Robinson's cinematic endeavors to be signed?
Yes.
And were you trying to assist him with that and manage him with that?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
Were you in fact in communication with people from Cinematic?
Yes.
And were you continuing to aid and assist Hakeem with that?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll try. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
When you a document, take a look at it yourself. So you can recognize it.
Yes.
Part of that agreement with cinematic music. Were you actually on that contract?
Yes.
How so?
I was his management.
Okay. And you signed that form.
Yes.
Did Hakeem Robinson sign it?
Yes.
One moment, Judge.
All right.
That's all, Judge. Thank you.
All right, may this witness be excused.
Request for recross, Your Honor.
Okay, but it's very limited to redirect.
Mr. Robinson, you were shown that video, right?
Yes.
The government asked you who that was, right?
Yes.
If you said anybody other than Hakeem, you'd still be looking at life, right?
Yes.
Nothing further.
All right, may this witness be excused.
Yes, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, it's 5:34. I think we're going to recess for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to ask that you leave your notepads behind. We will lock them, secure them, and return them to you when we reconvene tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, here in courtroom 407 for the continuation. Let me remind you that during this overnight recess, of course, you're not to talk about the case among yourselves or with anyone else, or allow anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. Please be very mindful. Again, we've come this far not to watch, read, or listen to any news stories that might be printed or aired about this case. And again, that's because this case has to be tried by you collectively in your presence and in the presence of the defendants, the attorneys in this court, and only based on the facts and evidence that come out as evidence in this trial and on the law as I will instruct you in it. So be mindful of that. But I do wish you a good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much.